All right, we're all back together.
Megatron must be stopped, no matter the cost.
Hello, friends. Welcome to the Autopod Decepticast, your former bi-weekly podcast that delivered an episode-by-episode breakdown of the original G1 series. And as listeners know, we just recently closed out end of season, I was going to say four. Season 4, the 3-episode heroic tale of the rebirth.
Mm-hmm.
We were introduced to Headmasters,
Target Masters,
Six Shot, some other bozos,
Scorponok, Fort Max,
and then after some battles and shit, the planet was revived, and
Golden Age,
and Galvatron and Scorponok are out in space plotting. What are their plots? We will never know. It's over.
It's over.
Feels weird. I mean that.
I'm excited. Yeah, but I'm excited on the things that are the next
on the
chapter.
horizon.
Yeah,
I'm really excited
that's true.
about
The possibilities.
Yeah.
Could be anything.
A bunch of new content to vein humor and insight out of.
Yeah, it's true.
Bring it on.
So this particular episode, I'm Aaron, by the way.
I'm Ryan.
And I'm Caleb.
And if you're joining us for the first time, this will be a weird one. It'll seem very self-serving.
Why
now?
I was like, why are you here? No, hey, listen, check it out. And if this is intriguing, or even if it's not intriguing, listen some more. Give us some money. Doe for Joe.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I think the next main thing we're going to do is Beast Wars.
Yeah, that's the main series we're going to do episode by episode.
Which I've seen a few episodes of, but I'm largely unfamiliar with the characters and lore, which means Caleb's completely unfamiliar.
I've seen some parts.
I've seen some things.
Kind of know what's going on.
So we'll pick up on that in a little bit, but this episode we put out a little call to see if anybody had some questions, whether it's about the Transformers, toys, the brand, everything surrounding that, about the podcast, Autopod Decepticast, about whatever. It's whatever you wanted. And we got some responses, and I think this show is just really centered around bullshitting in response to those questions. It's just a hang sesh.
Yeah, we got a bunch of questions.
And we'll cover probably all of them.
Yep.
I don't see any reason why not. I got nothing going on today.
Beast Wars takes place on like a farm, right?
Old McDonald.
It's like Charlotte's Web.
Yeah.
Like That'll Do Pig.
That's where that came from.
And they're like
people think that's a babe thing.
And they're like an
Beast
ox
Wars
that like keeps pulling stuff and dies.
There's a spider that
Are you
weaves
mixing
messages.
up Babe the Blue Ox with John Henry?
Everybody turns into a pig.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
There's a cartoon rabbit and his sexy like redheaded wife that's like a lounge singer.
Yeah, and there's like a rooster that like walks around and paddles a dog.
Yeah. And a chicken hawk that's always
right. Okay, I got it. Yeah. I know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yep. That's how this is going, everybody. So that's just a little taster. But before we get into it, I think it would be appropriate to shout out the patrons that have helped bring us this far. Mm-hmm. And will hopefully stick with us into the future. We've got Alpha Magnus, Debbie, Jeremy, Skeeter, Mr. Sadler, Mike Seibert, Bono, Michael Trimblett, Justin R., Jonathan, Robinus Prime, Classic Daniel V., the Sophubiest of Samurais, Chandler, J. Soups, Maddie V., Nick the Toy Mad Dad, Ken Buggerman, DFB Greg Murray, Captain Alexis, Corey, James, but let's not forget about Julia, Michael Lordway, Tim Dubs, Jason from Cracktastic Plastic, Thomas, Justin B. You know who you are.
Because that's your name.
It's the first letter of your last name. Triclops, Alex, Simon, New Daniel, Seven the Chronicler, Argonus Prime, The Unknown Patron, Brian Jones. Sorry. That's one of them slow echoes. Rick, a.k.a. Autobot 1000, and Mark, a.k.a. Zarmat. Thank you for being on the ride, and hopefully the next train we all hop on together is just as fun.
They're going to all stick around.
Oh, I mean, you do you.
Don't unbuckle.
And if you haven't listened to Beast Wars or watched it, maybe this is an opportunity to get into it.
Yeah, man.
I'll be getting into it.
I am.
And I, as we discussed last episode, I think we'll figure out ways to mix other elements of G1 into the show.
Yes.
Well, actually, and we can talk through that. I think there's a question around that later. But yeah, so Ryan, is this an appropriate time to have a drink?
I'm awake, so let's do it.
All right.
Where are we going, Caleb?
Yeah.
Guys, you're going to love this. So we're talking about Beast Wars. What better place to talk about Beast Wars than a Zaxby's Phillies commercial? Hold on.
You know, people in Philly have a lot to say about that Zaxby's sandwich, but we can't air it on television.
Come over here, Aaron.
Oh. All right, where have you
Well, I put us on the farm.
transported us? Where?
Well, just a plain old American farm.
Oh, you're not. We don't know the state or the community.
The heartland.
You just in your little
We're in the heartland.
transport machine. You typed in just
Heartland.
general fucking
God's country.
farm.
God's country.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can feel the manifest destiny all around me.
Here, take this pitchfork.
Oh,
I need to start putting some hay up in the loft.
oh, I was thinking I would just pose for a picture.
Nope, take this.
All right. So
Down,
now
girl.
you put me to work, and I don't even know whose farm this is. Am I getting paid for this?
Yeah, I got to milk some cows.
Fucking with hay is hard.
Gotta milk some Are there any cows in Beast Wars?
Yeah, sure, lots of them.
There's cows in Beast Wars?
Oh, why not?
Okay.
They,
Cool. Do they? Is there any farming that goes on in Beast Wars?
yeah,
Really?
that's the whole premise.
It's amazing. Awesome.
Yeah.
Are
They're
there any spiders in Beast
they
Wars?
they invent agriculture in
yeah.
Beast Wars.
No spiders in Beast Wars, though.
Oh, there's spiders.
Oh, really? Cool.
All animals, all animal life, from the most humble single-celled creature to the most complex.
about snakes?
I don't know. Name a complex.
Any snakes?
Oh, sure.
Like any old snakes?
Oh, I see what you did
Was
there.
there a snake that's like, once a man?
Yeah, I don't know how he snuck
Any
back.
G.I. Joe crossover references in Beast Wars?
We're gonna find out.
Cool. Here, hold this pail for me real quick.
Oh, this
Full
pail
milk.
of milk,
Yeah, drink it.
just right from the teat.
Do it. Taste it.
All right.
Let me know what you think. You're a food guy.
Creamy.
Pretty good, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah.
actually, yeah, it really is.
Oh,
this unpasteurized shit is
I
the
got
shit.
I got some pigs over here. They need to help me slop this slop.
Do you want me to finish the hay or what? I just started.
Nah, it's fine. We'll get back to it.
All right.
I'm trying to show you around.
Clink throws the pitchfork
Yeah.
down.
Clink.
That's,
Let's throw it again.
hang on, I gotta pick it up.
Now throw it. You hit Farmer John in the chest.
It's our farm now.
All right, cool. Anyway, back over to these pigs.
Oh, we're slopping.
Slopping hogs.
Yeah,
What is slop?
I guess it's
like-
just
it's
the
like
mush of
old food.
nutrients that we give them.
Yeah.
Like here, I see half of a corn cob with bites taken out of it.
There, piggy. There, good piggy. Good pig.
I feel like I read somewhere, this could be bullshit, that pigs have the intelligence of a 4-year-old human.
Oh, let's find out.
How smart are
Pig, do you
pigs?
have the intelligence of a 4-year-old human?
I want my mommy.
Yeah. Yep, there you go.
Is that pig just spoke? Oh, this says studies have found that they're smarter than dogs and even 3-year-old children.
Some 3-year-old children. I think
Not me at 3.
not me at 3.
I was a fucking genius.
Yeah.
Baby genius. The movie was made about me. Alec Baldwin.
Yes.
Just-
No, yes.
He covered my character. But, it's nice and all out here. There's a lot of shit
Wanna
to
go?
avoid stepping
We
in.
get on the tractor. Are there any tractors in Beast Wars? Any Transformers that turn into tractors?
Yeah, Tractotron.
Tractortron? Cool,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it.
It was the least popular toy.
I think a tractor transformer would be awesome.
Yeah?
Would he be an Autobot or a Decepticon? Sounds like he'd probably be an Autobot.
Yeah.
A Decepticon might be like a Combine or something like
Yeah.
that. You know, something more menacing.
Sure, yeah. Always like getting kids caught underneath it. I sure hope there's a Zaxby's commercial before this Combine approaches.
Nope. Oh, here we go. Check this out. Nope. It's all falling apart.
This was never together.
Let's just step into the farmhouse.
All right. I had spent some time on a farm when I was a kid because my mom dated some farmer guy from Arkansas, and they were pig farmers.
Did you go to Arkansas?
And yeah, we would drive to Arkansas and stay there. And it was it was like stereotypical
Farm?
That was the first time I saw chickens get killed for food that we ate later that
heads
day.
off and stuff?
They twisted them off. They grabbed him by the head and kind of spun, twisted
Do they
him.
still move? The body still move?
Of course, yeah. They flapped around
Really?
a little bit. And it freaked me the fuck out. I didn't eat that night. I was so fucking
Was it chicken? Did they
freaked
serve
out
chicken?
over it. Yeah, they served the chicken that they killed. Those people did not end up being good people, but
Why?
It was Robert Picton. I know.
Oh, I mean, you don't have to go into it. The worst smelling smells I've ever smelled is like a pig farm. Pig shit
Yeah.
smells
for sure.
awful.
Ryan has a drink in front of us.
This looks amazing. Actually, you have
This is
more
a good farm drink.
We have more than one drink here, or maybe. Ryan,
Does this count as the two that you referred to,
Yep.
or is there another one after?
Ryan,
this?
let's hear about this. This looks amazing.
All right. Yeah. Since this is a very special episode, like that Saved by the Bell where Jesse Spano was addicted to caffeine pills, I decided to do
A
I don't
thing
know
that
why I
never
brought that
happened.
in. She's so excited and she just can't hide it. We have two drinks today. The first of which I wanted to do because it's a classic 80s shot, although it didn't separate the way I wanted it to. This is the B-52. The origins of this shot are murky, but the leading claim is that it was created by Peter Fitch, head bartender at the Banff Springs Hotel in Alberta, Canada in 1977. Fitch named all of his drinks after bands, albums, and songs, and supposedly this shot is named after the B-52s, and not the Stratofortress bomber or the hairstyle. It's a layered shot. When built correctly, unlike myself, the different densities of the alcohol make the bottom third coffee liqueur, Kahlua, the middle Irish cream, like Bailey's, and the top is Grand Marnier. You can also substitute triple sec or Cointreau. Pouring over the back of a bar spoon is the classic method of ensuring the proper separation. And because this shot is not much of a cocktail for our purposes here, I chose another drink that we'll get to after we do this
shot?
one.
Excellent. It's delicious. Love the shot glass. I've got the Iceland shot glass.
So Aaron has the one from the Penis Museum in Iceland.
Nice. What do you have? Just blank?
It's just shit.
All right.
Just a
All right.
random one.
Yeah, to
All
your,
right, cheers.
to your health.
Oh, that's good.
I could have that as a cocktail.
It's really delicious.
poured over ice. Oh,
Yeah, I think
Coffee hits
for me,
nicely.
like I get the Bailey's, then the coffee, and then the triple sec,
and then the coffee lasts.
and then coffee comes back. Yeah,
Yeah.
it comes back at the
So
end.
good. It's getting me excited about our cold weather drinks. You know, 'cause
I have, I'm
wouldn't
going to
drink-
do some hot drinks for the holidays.
'cause I don't know if I mean, that's not very appropriate for doing like in August. I could do it in August too. But yeah, that's what it reminds me of. We're getting there.
Yeah.
We're sliding that way.
I want to go to Banff.
I've
I've
been
heard
to
there's
Banff.
good skiing.
I've been there.
Do you ski?
He has.
Have you?
I haven't skied in probably about 6 or 7 years, but yeah, I can ski.
I
And love it.
Do you like it?
Yeah, I love it.
Banff?
It's like my.
It
It's,
seems like an expensive hobby.
yeah, I mean, maybe less so if you live up there, but
Well,
but
I just feel the equipment
pretty
probably
pricey.
kind of pricey.
well, I would. Yeah, you got to rent it, and you got to get a pass for the lifts, and you know,
that you never take off your jacket.
and you got to
Some people do that.
and you got the property, of course, that you're staying on. But no, I like it. To me, it's just I just find the mountains to be the
I
most
like
beautiful
the mountains,
environment. And when you're just up there, and when you're skiing, I mean, it's just you by yourself, and you have to concentrate or you'll die. But or you could die. But I'm not a great skier. I'm like I do blacks sometimes, but I stick to blues
Really?
more often. Blue
You
runs.
do black runs.
I have done black
Wow.
runs.
I didn't know Aaron's-
but soft.
Soft black.
Like nothing
Flaccid.
too strenuous. I prefer blue. I feel like blue is the best mix of having to put in some effort and getting a little chill time.
What's the beginner level?
Green.
Okay.
Green runs.
Been to Banff. That's the destination that I drove that 94-year-old man when I was just
Oh,
out of
yeah.
college.
Oh, yeah.
Drove an old man to a relative.
And left him on the mountain.
He survived the whole trip. But
That's a weird story.
really pretty place. Yeah, drove up
Yeah.
north of it to Lake Louise and up into Jasper. Very pretty. I journaled about. I basically kept a journal about that trip too.
Have you revisited it?
It's been a while, but I did at one point. Yeah, I took pictures and stuff. Yeah,
It's like, I can't wait to eat that old man.
He was 94. Yeah. I drove.
That's
2000
crazy.
That was That was the summer of 2000.
Right after the
Nice.
world ended.
Yeah.
2000. It's
Yeah.
a millennial joke.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I have fantasies about like retiring and getting like a ranch in Montana.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. I do love that kind of country, but I like city
It's true.
environments as well.
Yes.
One of these days, I'll move out there. Except Melody has no interest in it.
West
she has
is
her way. We'll
not-
be at the beach.
West is not crazy about the idea of farm life,
Yeah.
but as long as she doesn't have to do it, I think she'd be fine.
Andy wants the beach,
Yeah.
so we'll see. I just figure
She's from San Diego or L.A. originally.
She's from Los Angeles.
Yeah. Okay. Melody's from San Diego, so it was California.
These fucking high class bitches.
Hey,
They don't
yeah.
know what the property value is. We're going to Alabama, the Gulf Shores. That's where they're going to go, and that's where they're going to like it.
Well, West is from Nebraska, and so we're not moving there.
It's so cold. It could get. So
It's
cold.
awful. Her brother had we went to his wedding a couple of years ago in Nebraska, and he had the gall to have it in January. It was horrible.
Yeah.
So how do we want to do this? Oh, we have another drink.
We
I'm
have another
sorry.
drink.
Oh my God.
I chose to drink the Educated Barfly, recently featured on YouTube, created by Aaron Williams in 2008 at the Pegu Club in New York City. This is the Kill Devil.
Nice.
2 ounces or 60 mils of rum agricole blanc. You can substitute here, though I'd recommend using a rum that's distilled from sugarcane instead of molasses. And I would also bet you could probably use Shaka, the Brazilian sugarcane alcohol.
When the walls fell.
Excellent. His arms wide. A half ounce or 50 mils of green chartreuse. A quarter ounce, 7.5 mils of Demerara syrup. 3 dashes of Angostura bitters, and a few drops of overproof rum like rum fire. Combine the first 4 ingredients into a mixing glass and stir with ice. Strain into a chilled coupe glass. Garnish with a lime coin floating in the cocktail. Drip rum fire onto the lime and light on fire. That also didn't really work very well. But there you have
Should
it.
have put more rum in it.
Yeah, I was going to say that's a lot of ingredients that I never drink. So this will be a
Until
delight.
now.
Shall we?
Can we do it?
Even more to see.
We good to go? Cheers.
Cheers, Ryan. First this time. You gave us all the butts of the lime.
It's a lime coin.
That has to be the butt.
Ooh.
Is it a mandate?
I don't know how else you'd make a coin out of a lime.
You slice
I
a
get-
lime anywhere, just down.
That's
diameter
not from
of
the
it.
end of the lime.
Did you say there was tequila in this?
No, there's not.
I
Tequila.
get notes of pepper in here that are really good.
It's
yeah,
because
like there's a mezcal-ish sort of.
it's because it's because of the rum agricole. It's very similar to cachaça. It's very herbal and floral.
Mm-hmm.
It's because it's made from sugar cane instead of molasses.
Tangentially, I hated tequila growing up, but as I've gotten older, I've come to appreciate.
Maybe
it
it's
because
because we were drinking terrible tequila.
Yeah, that and I threw up on it once, and
Yeah.
that kind of wrecks you.
That's a
for
really
while.
good drink. I like the.
It's
It takes
good.
you on a journey.
It is like
It's complex.
it's very
Yeah.
floral and herbaceous.
Good stuff.
That's the drink
Thank you, Ryan.
Indeed, it's really good. Is there more of that where that came from?
in the world.
I mean, in a jug somewhere.
Nope, that's it.
We got to put in effort. Okay. So how do we want to do this? We've got cues.
And
In front of us, I
we're gonna
assume we've
provide
all taken-
A's.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, I did look at the cues.
Yesterday
Yesterday.
at my house.
Yeah, okay.
Oh
No,
wa-
it's fine.
Was there a tiller or something? Were you
No,
guys
I came
leaving
here-
me out of
no,
the party?
I was here yesterday because of that gig I had play. I had to borrow some costume props from Ryan for my Halloween costume for playing at Vision Con.
Mm-hmm.
I played at Vision Con here in Springfield, the local con. I dressed up as the Dread Pirate Roberts. I play with a metal band for that every year. A lot of work went into it. We play a whole gig of like 30 songs usually hard rock metal songs that are featured in horror movies or weird low budget movies from like the 70s, 80s, 90s, etc. Huge room, like 400 chairs, big, huge stage. Played to about 6 people.
I did like the picture or the video you sent us where the people are in like the judges' booth.
Because there were available seats. And I'm like, why did they, I don't
They were
even know.
crammed in there.
They sat up there for fun.
I assumed those were sound people.
Nah, they just sat up there for fun because it was available.
Mm-hmm.
I'll post that on Discord. The band's called Transylvania. Very talented. It's got 3 guitarists. It's a lot of fun to play with. I work really hard to do that gig every year, but it was interesting, all that build up to play for like 6 people. We got another gig in a couple of weeks. It's our
But you
normal
got
gig.
paid, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's fine. It's
That's all that matters.
Yeah.
Well,
the money is
feels good, I'm sure, to see a crowd
Yeah.
pleased at your work.
Oh yeah.
Like, what if we were at TFCon
Well,
and there was 2 people in the room?
That's true. The one we played, the one we did on the Friday night panel with the packed room, and everybody was very engaged.
It's
And
awesome. That was awesome.
We are popular.
We'll have to do that.
Even the Sunday one we did was.
We'll have to do that again
pretty
sometime.
productive.
We'll do something again for a con sometime, even though it's a lot of work. It was
Yeah.
It was awesome. All right, so Q's and A's.
You know, I talk all the time, Ryan. Do you want to read these?
Oh, I can read
You
them.
want to bring up the spreadsheet on the computer?
Sure, I'll do that. I'll do it.
So yeah, we'll just we had a spreadsheet where everybody was like, you give us 3 questions.
It was a Google Doc
mhm,
or Google
yep.
Form. Google Form.
Yeah.
And they submitted.
And yeah, you could ask us 3 questions. And there was a couple people who actually emailed before we even set it up that there's a bonus question. And then we have at the I put Mike Seibert as a closer because he asks 100 questions in 1 question. But it makes
No,
sense.
they're good.
It's
Makes
good.
sense. He's a true.
Yeah, I actually love his questions because they give me a chance to talk about myself. But first up, we have Daniel Collins. He says, for question 1, if you could choose any Transformers character to be a new official Hasbro toy, who would it be? This seems like an Aaron question.
I can start.
I have an answer too, but
Just jump in.
I would like to see cartoon accurate, movie accurate Lithonians.
ooh,
And if they transform, great. Maybe in the Marvel
Into that little
comic,
ship.
yeah, there was and I think there is transformation models for them. We just never saw them in the movie because they got into a ship. But I think in the original script, which that comic book was based on, they had a transformation, and that's how they escaped. So I think that would be cool if Hasbro did it, or even a licensed like Super 7 or something like that. And you could do Kranix, Arbalest. I think it'd be a moneymaker because you could just it's the same mold. Just
That
paint them up a
feels
little
like-
differently.
for
Different
like
head?
not ancillary. I mean, but sort of ancillary character. That feels like that might have enough pull where they could make it profitable.
Plus, they don't exist anywhere. I mean, there was one third-party company, and I cannot remember the name of them, but that made Quintessons and those guys, but they were like PVC and they didn't transform or anything. But yeah, I guess it's not true. There was when they released Quintessons finally in the Hasbro main line, there was a certain set that was like a Transformers the movie branded set that came with a Quintesson and two Alicon guards, and it also came with a tiny little, just molded, it's not articulated or anything, version of, I can't remember if it's Kranix that ends up on the Quintesson planet, but one of those guys.
I believe it's Kranix, yeah.
So anyway, yeah. And one other one I have for me,
Okay.
an Autobot X. I would like an Autobot X character.
I would like to see that too.
There are third-party. There's one third party who's made one and a masterpiece scale, but it doesn't look very good. And X Transbots is supposed to make one. Who knows if that'll ever happen? But I'd love an official version would be pretty sweet.
I would like to see a Torque 3 with all the little additional, little minion machines that run around.
Oh, that's neat.
That would be a good one.
Yeah,
It'd be nice for like a play set background type thing.
Somehow, part of me thinks like it'd be cool to have the screen
Animated.
somehow. where
Would it have like a lenticular sticker on it, where depending on how you're looking at it, it's face?
well, that would be one. That would be
Enemies.
probably that would probably be actually.
It's a very 80s way to.
That'd be
Yeah.
good. I think that would probably be a better solution. I was thinking like it would actually have
Digital.
some kind of digital screen
Oh yeah.
where you could. I guess you could even slip your phone into it and download an app so
You-
that would talk.
That is a
Wow.
great idea. Like, that's amazing.
I thought you were gonna make fun of it.
No, I legitimately think that's a
So then
great
you,
idea.
Then you put your phone and you have to download the Hasbro app and
What does the
and
app
ex-
do other than just have Torque 3 making faces?
It would be like a similar like Alexa thing where you could ask it questions and it would respond.
Oh,
And it-
that's great. Also, though, it could be like just a phone stand where you can watch movies.
It could be a phone stand. Also, it could be like you could set it on side table. It could be your alarm. It could be like you
Just
could-
keep
or,
Torque 3 at your bedside
or it
table.
could, or it could be somehow it could be like an Alexa interface where you ask instead of saying Alexa, you say Torque. What is whatever, but it would answer in a real. Weird
I love
fucking
this
way.
idea. Nobody steal this. We're not doing it.
No,
but-
I just now copyrighted it right now.
Steal it, but pay us our
Give
our
us
tribute.
Skrilla.
That would be my idea. So maybe I should go ahead and pitch that to Hasbro.
All right,
Ryan,
Ryan, what do you got?
I said Shockwave.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't. Again, I
Yeah.
don't know that much about toys, but obviously that was not a Transformer originally. Like that was during.
true.
It was. I think I had a Radio Shack Shockwave.
They call that Shackwave in the community.
Cool.
There have been recent shockwaves that have all been pretty well regarded. There is one in the main line. There's a Masterpiece shockwave, which
okay.
I think I got Caleb for his birthday or Christmas or something.
Yeah, a long time ago.
Long
Yeah, it's a
time
great
ago.
toy.
Oh, I don't remember that
It was
at
like
all.
the first toy that you got me.
All
You
right.
gave it to me at the bar at the Cheshire Inn bar up in St. Louis.
Okay.
You gave it to
Nice.
me there for some reason. We were up in St. Louis for some reason.
So you were living there probably. I bet you lived there.
No, I don't think so because we didn't start the podcast until after that, and I don't think you would have given me a Transformers toy prior to doing the podcast.
Probably. Yeah.
So anyway, yeah.
So Ryan, you have options.
I do.
Go get it.
I will.
Go now.
Daniel has also asked us each a question individually. For Ryan, if you could...
That's you.
That's me. If you could interview any serial killer, living or dead, whom would you choose and why? This is an excellent question, which I struggled with. Because, like, do I choose a heavy hitter we all know or someone obscure? Like, in addition, the problem with interviewing serial killers is that you are talking to the most self-absorbed, least reliable people on Earth when you're talking to a serial
It's too
killer.
much. It's kind of like talking to yourself, right? Ooh, I'm sorry. That
Oh,
was really mean.
wow.
I don't know if that was an intentional dig, but I
I meant
definitely
that to be a joke, and as it was coming out of my mouth, I was like, "No, this is just a terrible
Jesus.
insult." I'm sorry. That was
No,
mean.
no. It's
No,
fine.
and totally not true. You're a very selfless person. Sorry.
I'm not a selfless
In some
person.
ways.
Please
That's
continue.
why I don't have children, because I'm not a selfless person.
Please continue.
A lot of the ones who you would talk to have been interviewed pretty extensively, especially Ed Kemper. I mean, that guy loved to talk. He also has a nice voice. He did a lot of audiobooks in prison, on actually recorded audiobooks. My choice is technically not a serial killer, and in fact never even murdered anyone. Can you guess who it is? I'll say it's late 60s. Hollywood.
You're talking about Charles Manson?
I am talking about Charlie Manson. Born No Name Maddox in 1934, Charles Manson, I chose him mostly because listening to him speak is always really fucking fun. Like, he is a maniac. Like, no matter...
He's very stream of conscious.
Oh, absolutely.
But there's no thread that it's listening to Donald Trump speak in some ways, because he will just ramble on from one topic to the next.
I would
and
submit
just-
that Charles Manson is more interesting to listen to than
well,
Donald
maybe
Trump.
I don't know, but
But like, no matter what you ask, the answer is going to be probably not related
Not what
to what you
expect.
asked.
Certainly
and
not what you expect.
bonkers and he's like verbal LSD.
yeah.
Charles,
I've
which-
seen interviews with him in prison, and
Oh,
I
yeah.
was just like, this guy
he's like
far
a
out.
what do people say?
yeah, he's like a perfect crystallization of what the hyper violent late 60s and early 70s were his story is fucking also someone who never had a chance. I mean, he was institutionalized as a child.
I mean, I don't know how validated this is, but there are books written about how he was like an FBI plant, either informant or was like manipulated and molded by the FBI. But
I don't subscribe to this. There is some, but I don't.
I don't know how.
How could you
that
control Charles Manson? Like what?
Yeah, I don't know.
Anyway, that's who you would interview.
If you
What
want
would
to
you ask him? What do you want to know?
It doesn't matter. I just want to.
You just want to talk. You just want to rap.
If you want to go with a super maybe niche serial killer, Gilles de Rais.
And I don't know who that is.
Gilles de Rais was a nobleman in, I believe, 14th century France. You may correct me, Caleb, but he was a contemporary of Joan of Arc, fought with her, and saved her life numerous times. Later, became a serial killer of little boys and girls.
Jack the Ripper would be interesting since nobody really
knows who he was.
Who
It was just some. This is the thing. Jack the Ripper was just some guy. It was just some guy. He's like, we just didn't. He wasn't caught because of serial killers. We didn't understand what they were.
Didn't have, we didn't have the skills from a.
Yeah, I guarantee he was just some weirdo.
Investigation standpoint, probably.
So,
for Caleb, what inspired you to get into music and become a musician?
My family. My mom plays piano. My grandmother played piano. My aunt plays piano. Long line of piano players, matriarchal piano players. So
it's interesting that your sister's not a piano player.
She started taking lessons.
Did not like it?
Got out before I did, yeah. I stuck with it. I started taking lessons when I was 6. Took lessons from 6 to 16. When I got tired of taking lessons, and then played it, but then was able to keep playing because I transitioned into jazz band high school, then played jazz band in college, and then after college fell into playing music out. I didn't really play music out with a band until after college, and have continued doing it ever since. So what inspired me was I was one of those kids that my mom played and got me into lessons as a kid, and I just happened to stick with it. So that would.
Do you think that sticking with it was just because you had? And maybe I'm psychoanalyzing you, but you seem to have a very people pleasing kind of.
Absolutely, 100%. I did not want to disappoint and let anybody down, and drop out of taking lessons. And even to this day, I have a problem over obligating myself. If someone asks me to play in a group with them, I say yes because I don't want to disappoint them.
Right.
That's a really good question. Even with this group Transylvania, I enjoy it, but it's a huge commitment, and I have to really be careful about. I read a book about how to draw boundaries, which seems very common sense to some people. Not for me.
Yeah.
I'm a people pleaser, so I have to be really so. So a flip side of that is another reason I probably continue playing is because I want to please people, and so which is weird. Part of it's not. I'm not trying to necessarily please people out in the audience.
Right.
My motivation is to fulfill pleasing the people that ask me to play with them on stage.
Right.
So that's why, like the gig the other night, I played for 6 people. I am satisfied that I fulfilled my
obligation
to play with these other people in the band. That's a really good, insightful question. Yeah.
He's fucking changed his life.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, I struggle with that quite a bit.
Sure.
I guess was there a point as a kid when you were playing piano and you're like, I don't like this, I'm tired of doing this, or whatever? I guess there's a point where it transitions from the obligation you have to your mother and just it's just the thing you do, but maybe you don't enjoy it, but it's on the schedule and you do it, and then at some point. And you have to like making music and like performing to some extent. And so it becomes a thing that, you developed your talent for, and now you have fun with it.
There was times where I just didn't want to practice. But what really got me finished taking lessons is I became a teenager and just being an adolescent, and struggling with being an adolescent. I got my driver's license. I became more responsible for myself, driving myself to lessons, and I really just kind of.
And I did not.
So that's
so many blown off lessons.
I finally got to the point where that.
I guess it still is a chore if you're just looking to fulfill obligations.
When
to your
it
band.
wasn't the time when it wasn't a chore was before I was in a relationship, before I had kids,
Had a family.
when I was living with you guys on Delmar, and I got into the jam band scene, which I don't really care about jam band music, but it was a group of people to play with in my very early 20s, playing in rock bands around. That wasn't a chore. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's a chance to use your skill that you
But then they
and the best part, Caleb was in high demand because there weren't that very many
Not very
keyboard
many,
players around.
No.
So,
and when I do encounter other keyboard players, actually I'm really intimidated by them because they're typically I consider them better than me, and I respect it, and I don't. But it really intimidates me to encounter somebody else that can play a keyboard, because then I just
even without seeing them play or knowing their skill, you're intimidated.
Well, very often
You're like,
do
they're the competition.
Very often do I encounter somebody that's another keyboard player in a situation where they're not
Like on the
playing,
street.
where they're not playing.
Now this is not to make this question too long, but like I am interested in this. Like, do you think like if you maybe had lived in LA, you'd become a session player or something?
I'm not good enough.
Okay.
I'm not good enough. The path I took, I don't sit around and play a lot at home just on a whim. If I'm playing at home or practicing, it's because I'm gearing up to play for a show. So that's another thing. Like, people are like, you should, like, that's another interesting part about me playing is I don't have a repertoire of music where I can sit down and play just by myself solo and go out and play somewhere.
Like, you don't compose or
I don't compose, or I don't learn music to play solo. I don't do solo stuff. And that's another big part of that is like, the motivation is not for me to play and enjoy playing.
Mm-hmm.
It's if someone assigns me a task to play, then I'm driven to fulfill that obligation and to please them.
Okay.
It's really weird. I really need to.
That's actually, honestly, I feel sometimes the same way about art.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, that I have a studio art degree, so when I got out of college and no one was giving me an assignment anymore, I fucking stopped doing art.
Yeah.
So I'm very assignment driven, which means that my motivation is to please people. If I was assigned a task, so that's like with the booty box stuff, like I don't do something until I'm like, I really need to make something for the booty box.
We're sending them out tomorrow.
But then he goes forward to make the thing that everybody loves more than anything else.
and so I've struggled with that for a long time, and I have to come to a certain peace with it. Like, well, this is how I approach creativity. I always say to myself, like, I should sit down and just commit some time to work up some music to play on my own and play out. I think that would be awesome, and I still have time in my life to do that, but it's interesting that I don't set aside time to do that. I just wait for someone to tell me, like, here's what's going to happen, and here's this list of songs that you need to learn, and then I learn them. But when you're playing with a group of people, I'm not learning both hands in a certain way. I'm learning certain parts really heavily right-hand driven. So if I sit down and try to play a song, I'm weak in my left hand, doing certain accompaniment with my left hand while my right hand's doing more melodic stuff.
Oh,
so a lot of other piano players you come across are stronger in that because they're used to an approach it where they're doing accompaniment that is they're really utilizing the full spectrum of both hands. And I don't do that so much.
This is really interesting. And I would like to talk more about it, but I feel like we need to move on to the next.
I'm sorry, but anyway, there you go.
No, absolutely. So for Aaron, what are the top 5 third-party toys in your collection that you would never part with?
Yeah, I did walk around my office pondering this question. My office is where I display my figures, and at the end of the day, if I had to, and maybe this goes without saying, I would offload any of them if
the price was right.
More if the shit went down.
Oh,
there's several of them where the price is right, where they are like many times their value on eBay, but I just haven't, I want them and I don't have to get rid of them. So I guess I thought of it a little differently as just what are my favorite ones.
Sure.
And I would say for me, it's probably more about the character than the figure, although the figures are great. My top one I listed was Fans Toys Galvatron, known as Sovereign. I mean, it is a great figure. It's beautiful. Best interpretation of the character, which is my motivation. It's like my bet. Like when I collect, I want the best version of the character clearly from my point of view. And then the other one is Fans Toys Cyclonus, aka Quietus, which again is a great figure. And I put this as a number 3. It's kind of a cheat because it's not out yet, but Fans Toys is releasing a Scourge. So then I would have a triple Fans Toys version of that trinity. And there's just something about that trinity of characters that resonates with me. I
absolutely
don't know why, but if that figure were to never come out, then I'd have to say the X-Transbots version of Scourge, which I have and has been out a while. For some reason, you can see a brand associated pattern here. Fans Toys also created at one point a separate brand called Robot Paradise, and under that brand, they released their Soundwave.
Sounds like Jimmy Buffett.
And that Soundwave is in my view, the best version of the character. It blows the Hasbro version out of the water. It looks perfect to the cartoon. And I don't really have a fifth, but since Soundwave needs an adversary, then I'll stick with Fans Toys, and they just put out a blaster in the last 4 months or so. So then I've got those two characters. And I'm going to cheat a little bit, because I also collect Legends, which are smaller versions, but third parties make people call them mini masterpieces, but I take issue with the term because I think masterpiece is its own thing, but really well-produced Legends toys that are super articulated and have cool transformations. And I collect those because it's really stupid. In the back of my head, I'm like, if the shit ever goes down, the first thing I'll sell is these masterpieces.
What do you mean by the shit going down?
I live in perpetual fear of poverty.
Okay, me too.
And so my thought is, if I ever need to sell off the collection, then hey, I'll hang on to these little Legends, which are cheaper, and I'll still have my itch scratched by these little guys.
You have a fear of living you have a perpetual fear of living
but I
in
contribute to it by buying these
well
toys.
No, I mean, but also like you're successful and you're
ish,
right? But I'm just saying,
by some standards,
I feel the
not
same
mentally.
Exactly.
That's what I'm saying.
I talked to West about this, where I'm like, every month I'm like, is this it? Like, is this the month where everything falls apart?
Yeah. It's a weird mentality. I'm sure it comes from being raised in poverty, but
and instability.
Yeah, sure. I'm sure it's all rooted in that. I mean, I've talked about my mom. It wasn't my mom's boyfriend that smacked me. It was a friend of his.
Yeah,
took the liberty. But and I'm sure. I mean, a lot of people have that, but I have it too, and I'm sure. It all is deep rooted in. Like, I would just want to keep a status quo, and so I need a backup plan. I wouldn't say the Transformers are an investment, but because they're not, but
it's there.
But I know it's there.
Yeah,
but God, it would be such a pain in the ass. I also think about sometimes when I die. This is completely tangential from the question. How I mean, there's some money in that collection. Maybe $50,000, but you'd have to earn it.
Like sell each one individually on
like
eBay.
My dad always
sounds
says,
like a fucking nightmare.
My dad always says it's only worth as much as people are willing to buy it for.
Right. But I'm saying from a market perspective, it would
be a hassle.
You could get it, but from a labor perspective, it would be a hassle. So I have thought about if I were to die unexpectedly. There's money there for
all the time
for Melody and the kids. Like, it could pay for college. Who would help Melody with that? Because Melody wouldn't know how to approach that. I have everything's organized here. This is my
obviously I'm dying before you, though.
This is my pitch to you guys. Okay. If something happens to me, just so you know right now, I have all the boxes for all those figures and all of the accessories, and all the accessories are organized in boxes by brand, and each one is in its own container by character, or in its own like cellophane or packaging by character. And so, if you'll help organize, we'll make a deal. You can get something out of it, clearly. But
I was
10%?
to help Melody offload those things.
I feel like
and
10% is reasonable.
It may not be enough, honestly. I feel like the 10% of $100 is only $10, and you'll probably take a good 30 minutes of your life to list it on eBay.
At least. Like, the pictures alone would take longer than that.
Well, I steal I list a lot. I sell a lot of stuff on eBay because as I said, I don't need two versions of most characters. So if I have a character already, but then the better, aka Fans Toys version comes out, then I'll flip it.
I think we'd probably do some sort of charity auction or something like that.
Well, I just don't know who would buy it all at once.
Our listeners,
because they either have the characters already or whatever.
That I feel like that the labor thing is why a lot of people sell, like, you see on eBay, like, comic sets of like 100 comics because they don't want to list them individually.
Right.
I take them to Heritage or some auction house.
You find your ones that are worth the most, you list them individually, and then you do a lot. But anyway, so to get back to the question, I collect the Legends figures also, and the New Age Dinobots, I would also keep those. If I had to sell all the other Legends, I would try to keep those. There's only 2 out right now, Grimlock and Sludge. But those figures are they're just beautiful. They look exactly like the cartoon.
They look amazing.
And they're super articulate. New Age just makes great figures in general. So since there's 5 Dinobots, they're not all out yet, but I'll say they're all going to be good when they are out, and I'll hang on to those.
Okay, so our next questions come from Robinus Prime, a.k.a. Robin Hunt.
We got some fun ones there.
Number 1, and this is inflammatory, you piece of shit. Does it have to be Beast Wars? Can't you contribute G1 continuity with Headmasters, etc.? And my answer is yes and yes.
Yes.
Beast Wars is our next big series, but before that, we're going to get into some other stuff like Headmasters. Japanese is like 1987, 1988, 35 episodes. Super God Master Force, 1988, 42 episodes. Transformers Zone movie, 1990. And then Beast Wars is 1996 and 99.
Who's to say
I feel like you left one out.
What?
There's Headmasters. Sorry, Caleb, go ahead.
Well, who's to say, and you brought up a good point either earlier or on the previous episode, we're going to be dipping back into the G1 well as we talk about Beast Wars.
Yeah.
We have,
sure.
I mean, that's just unavoidable.
Yeah.
You know?
Beast Wars seems controversial. People seem to either really like it or hate it.
Well, hey, I love a good controversy. Let's do it. I mean, it's going to be controversial, and that's great. That's fun. That makes it interesting to listen to.
Yeah.
You're going to experience it with me in a way that...
The next question involves that as well.
Yeah.
So you said 38 Headmasters. Did you say Super God Master Force?
I did.
And Victory?
I didn't say Victory.
44 episodes of Victory.
Ooh.
We'd literally be dead
It's true.
before we covered all of that. I mean, we've committed to doing Beast Wars, so we're doing Beast Wars. The hype is out. It'd be dickish to pivot right now.
That came out. I didn't realize Beast Wars came out in the mid to late '90s. So we're going to be talking about.
It came out the year we
Yeah,
graduated.
I honestly, almost at this moment, more than the Beast Wars show, I'm looking more forward to the In the Real World.
Yeah. Let the bodies hit the floor. Let the bodies hit the floor. We've got some great music coming up in the late '90s.
You're my butterfly, sugar, baby.
Oh God! That guy at the party. Oh yeah, you're down with the sickness, huh? Yeah. Anyway, sorry. That's all coming. Stick around for that.
But all that said, I don't know how many episodes there are of Beast Wars. I'm not against covering the Japanese series in more like specifically at some point. It's just hard.
I think they're less.
And I don't want to put in the effort for it.
I think
right
there are
now.
less than 40 Beast Wars episodes. There are like 12 a season. There are 3 seasons.
So it's just 2 years, Robinus.
Come along, Robinus. Come along with us.
And in addition to that, number 2, how will you keep Caleb awake when the animation is so bad it hurts his eyes to look, and he has to close them as a protective measure?
That's for them. That's for
I guess
them to
that's for
figure
us.
out, not for me.
I say just let him sleep.
Doesn't sound like my
Well,
my
I
problem.
fall asleep in movies all the time, and it annoys
does.
me when
I've
my
sat
wife
next to him.
when my wife elbows me to wake me up. It's like let him sleep.
Yeah.
I'm going to try not to fall asleep for these.
Well, I said, controversially, I don't even think the CGI animation is that bad for a 90s cartoon series.
True.
Admittedly, some of it's
We made it through
unfortunate.
ACOM.
Yeah, well, the text, it's a new technology, and the textures are not, like, quite there. But also, I couldn't even keep Caleb awake when they did the episode of Mike Seibert when Aaron was out, so...
Listen, I think our transition from the sofa to the chairs has helped greatly with keep me awake.
It's true. That sofa sucked.
As far as I know, that's the only time you've
long.
fallen asleep, so
As
you're
far as
doing all
you
right.
know.
I mean, you're in the high 90% range of staying awake.
Yeah.
High 99% range.
I ever since we transitioned to these chairs, I don't fight sleep anymore.
It was so funny. Just I'm talking to Mike, and I look over, and you're just like... It was so funny.
And Mike saw it on camera.
No, he didn't, because you were slumped over out of camera. And I
was out of frame.
I said to him, Caleb just fell asleep, and he goes, "Are you serious?"
And meanwhile, his headphones are on, so he could hear.
It was hard. It was rough.
Incorporated into his dreams.
It was, and I got the whole episode. That's like the other episode we did was I did the whole wrong episode.
You watched the wrong episode. Yeah,
yeah, it was rough.
I'm the only one who.
Turns out I got to be here to keep you fuckers on point,
Yeah, I thought now
or to keep you fuckers.
I was like, we got this, Aaron. It's all good. Yeah.
Robinus's final question is: how can I guarantee I get reincarnated as a tiger or panther when I die?
I have a long answer. Can I?
Yeah,
please.
I have no answer, so go for it.
This is according to my very shallow research. But in
I thought you were going to say wife for some reason.
According to my wife.
No, very shallow.
According to my stupid bitch-ass
Yes.
wife. Just
Tell
No.
us.
According to my research, in Hinduism, the concept of reincarnation is based on the belief in karma, which is the idea that your actions in this life will influence your future lives. Reincarnation is part of the cycle of birth and rebirth, known as samsara. Specific form or species into which a person is reincarnated is believed to be determined by their karma, which is the accumulated consequences, of course, of their actions in their previous lives. So, if you wish to be reincarnated as a tiger, which, according to Hinduism, you can be,
Sure.
or any other specific creature, for others out there that are
Looking for something else.
that are furries. It's essential to understand that Hinduism teaches that your actions and deeds in your current life shape your future. So to increase the chances of being reincarnated as a tiger, you'd need to accumulate the appropriate karma associated with that existence. So tigers, like all creatures, have their place in the cosmic order and are believed to be subject to the laws of nature and karma. The specific actions and qualities that might lead to a tiger's birth would be very different from what would lead to a human birth. Tigers are seen as powerful and majestic creatures in Hindu mythology, and embodying those qualities in your actions could be associated with such a rebirth. So all that said, Robinus, you got to remember the ultimate goal in Hinduism is to not be reincarnated. You want to break free from the cycle
karma.
of samsara and achieve moksha, which is liberation from that cycle of birth and death, which is pursued through, all that easy stuff like spiritual growth. Well, maybe not.
Let's just say
You know what?
That'd be funny to have the ability to achieve that, but you're like, I'm going to be a dick over here just so I can get reincarnated again.
What's funny is that actually kind of dovetails. I did no research on karma, but that dovetails with what I said, which is it can't hurt to start eating raw meat and pooping outside.
Live as tiger do.
Live as tiger do.
I don't know if you guys have anything to append
it.
other than
I can't top that. That's amazing.
Next questions are from Alex Mendoza, Krim Zeke on our Discord channels. Number one, what character came out after season 4 you would have liked to have seen in the U.S. cartoon? I think Tarn would have been pretty righteous.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to see how they would dumb a character like Tarn down for a child audience.
Yeah, that's true.
He's like a real murderer.
Yeah,
That's like the whole
psychopath.
point. And I think Tarn is in modern incarnations of Transformers series. I just have not watched them or seen how they do that. But yeah, it's an interesting question because all of the interpretations we know today are evolutions of their cartoon and comic versions. So you're like trying to reverse engineer that, which is hard because the first
weird,
version
yeah.
already happened. But I think it would have been cool to see how they handled like a Power Master Optimus Prime, or like that maybe is a little derivative of what they did in Marvel, but different because it's different. And also, you said Tarn. There's another character called Overlord who is in the goddamn, I can't remember. I think he's the primary villain of the Master Force series, either Victory or Master Force. And I just know him from IDW, and he's a great character. And it would have been like a design like that would have been interesting to see how the U.S. series would have handled it. But for him to exist, there wouldn't have to be no Megatron. But there is no Megatron in that series. He's just the guy.
What about you, Caleb?
No, I have no idea.
Okay. Question number 2. What is your favorite quote from the... These questions are so infuriating because I'm like, you're going to make me think about...
Oh, I had to do research.
I know, me too. I'm like, you're going to make me think
I had to try and
about the
remember.
whole
You gotta make
series.
us work for this?
What's your favorite quote from the entire show? Be specific. I kid about specificity. I think I can guess Caleb's answer.
Okay, I have one.
Go ahead.
No, you have to tell me first what you think it is.
You don't think I'll be honest if I'm wrong?
No, it's not that at all. I think it just
He's
works
just
better.
curious,
I think it works better if you say it and then I don't care. Oh, I'll say it. Fine, fuck it. Where Rodimus Prime goes, ew, gross.
That's an excellent thing. I didn't think that was what it was. I thought it was Dad.
That's that's on brand, definitely.
That is an excellent answer. That did not even occur to me.
But yeah, gross.
Gross.
Cracks me up every time.
My answer comes from the pilot 3 episode, and I'm going to go with when Optimus is fighting Megatron and says, "Junk, that's what you are, junk."
Yesterday's model or something
Yeah.
like that. As I was sort of researching this, I came across a lot of people that hated that dialogue in that scene, and I thought it was so good.
I did too.
I thought the dialogue on that was not even corny. Just I thought it was witty and well executed. But I have a terrible memory, so there's no way I could possibly think back and remember all the lines.
Of course.
But
No one's
even if you had a pretty
expecting
good
you
memory.
to.
But I did we didn't call it out when we were reviewing it. In terms of corny insults, Spike in I think the Rebirth Part 3 calls Cyclonus.
Yes.
And
I think that's Daniel.
so perfect.
That's
was it Daniel?
Daniel
okay.
calls him Cyclonus.
And it's so perfect. Like I can't believe it hadn't happened the whole season. Very low hanging fruit. And my other memory from recently is even though Ryan hated it, I really liked it was in the episode where Rodimus left the Autobots for the episode, the burden hardest to bear.
Yeah.
And I loved that whole kendo instructor speech. There's a sequence where Hot Rod has left the Autobots. He's just, I guess, hiding out. I don't know why he picked this dojo to be in, but he's hanging out there. The instructor's giving a lesson to another student. They finish up, and the instructor goes up to Hot Rod and he says, "Are you troubled, Autoboto-san?" And Hot Rod's like, "Who, me? Nah." And the instructor says, "You are lying, Autobot-san." And Hot Rod goes, "Yeah, I am."
That's very Hot Rod.
But I honestly like the lesson that he gave about
Sure.
clearing your when you're trying to do something, clear your mind of the concept of victory or defeat. Because if you think about it, it prevents you from executing, which is the thing you need to do.
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought it was good. And then there was another piece about if you've abandoned your obligation, as Hot Rod had, then you've already lost. And so anyway, at the time, Ryan thought it was really trite. And I was like, I don't know. I think it's deeper than you think.
I think it was just, it doesn't matter. Like, I just was annoyed.
It's not Jordan Peterson-esque.
That's true. Number 3, do you think that if young Spike met his adult self, he'd think his adult self was an asshole?
I don't see why.
I don't either.
I don't know either.
No, I don't.
Spike
think
seems
so.
all right to me.
He seems to maintain his integrity throughout the whole
Yeah.
cycle.
Like I said on the last episode, he seems very consistent and good.
Handsome.
I will say, I've actually thought about this kind of thing a lot, where if I met my younger self, like not a month goes by where I think about time traveling to meet my younger self.
Yeah.
I guarantee I would find him insufferable.
What I've done with some therapy and looking into things, they say that it's really important that you give your past self grace.
Some grace, yeah. I would say I have that exact note. Yes, grant yourself some grace because they became you, and also like they were just younger and like they just were learning the world. But I also know that little pretentious dickhead would infuriate me because I know everything about myself, which means I would know exactly what he's thinking when he says, like, well, actually, it was Flavor Aid they drank in Jonestown. And
there's that, too.
5th grade, Ryan.
He just loved showing how smart he was. And I'm like, that's annoying.
Yeah, you're probably not going to be satisfied by encountering your younger self either.
Right. That's why it's like you said in therapy, it's the best thing of like, and Wes
grace.
says this too all the time. It was like she's also like, I have to grant my younger self some grace because they didn't know. Like, and then they were just growing. So
the thing is, I guess it's okay to acknowledge. I give your younger self grace. It's really just giving yourself grace.
Exactly.
You know,
I
know I was pretty cringy.
Yeah. Also, I did a lot of really stupid shit that I'm like.
I guess
mean,
everybody-
but you do. That's
We
just
all did.
that's
That's
just
part of life.
That's just living. Yeah.
Spike didn't seem to do anything that cringy though.
No,
I don't
no.
think so.
But not when we saw him.
No, I don't think. Yeah.
This
I like the answers and the insight that question opened up for us.
Yeah. I can picture how Ryan was cringy. I can certainly picture how I was cringy.
It's crystal
I can't
clear.
picture how you might have been problematic as a youth. By problematic, like I guess I'm using cringe as a standard.
Well, here's the thing, though. I was such a people pleaser that the cringy things that I look back on were like I had
inside.
Yes, I had an opportunity there to be more of an individual and make my own choices and
I see.
And do things that probably would be more satisfying to myself, and I didn't.
Right. I got
That's what that is. And it's not necessarily probably.
I made too many choices. That was my
probably something that nobody noticed except for myself. Those are the kind of things.
Our next question segment comes from James/Walnuts1. I'm going to call him Jimmy Walnuts. Number 1, may I please ask, what does a good and bad drug trip, specifically hallucinogens like psilocybin, DMT, feel, taste, look, etc., like? Also, has the microdosing done anything? I can't remember who was microdosing. I don't think any of us are microdosing, but I've talked about it.
Not currently, no.
So.
Well, I haven't done a lot of hallucinogens. I really haven't. I mean, I've done acid like maybe a couple of times, and I have a weird experience with them where that I have I've done mushrooms quite a bit more over the past year than I have probably my whole life. The weird thing about it is I seem to have a high tolerance to them because I've taken.
So does West.
I've taken a pretty high dosage, and I don't really I don't recall really experiencing visuals or anything. And so DMT I certainly haven't done, but I've read up on it extensively. And I mean, that'll get you where that'll get you there from what I've read. And then some. I can't really talk to it that much because the only experience I had that was noticeably like I had hallucinations was I was playing a festival. And,
oh my God.
And I've talked about this before where I did a lot of drugs that night. And this has been like 20 years ago. I'd already played my show. It was after that. So I was like, bring it on. And I did some, it was probably ecstasy or something. I don't know. I took some pills.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
And the guy was like, hey, be careful with these. These are experimental. And I was like, okay.
That's not what you want to hear
'Cause I
from
wanted
your,
something that was mushrooms
your drug
equivalent.
provider.
And that's what he gave. Yeah. And I got on stage and couldn't make sense of how to play, and I looked at my hands.
What does even be careful with these mean?
Yeah, it
I know,
doesn't mean anything.
like
it's basically saying I'm not responsible.
he should
for
just
what's
be
going
saying
on.
like you should not take these.
I'm not responsible for what's about to happen. Yeah, so and then that whole night I couldn't find my tent, and it was crazy. That was
Is that the night you crashed a golf cart or something? Or...
Yeah, I did crash a golf cart. I got in a golf cart and was driving around blindly through the woods and high-centered it on a stump. And
Jesus Christ.
Were there others in the golf cart, or you?
no, just me. But then some people near the campsite that I was driving towards, I saw a fire. So I was like, I'm driving to that fire. And I drove through the woods and hit a stump. So they helped me get off the stump, and then I went driving around. Finally, I abandoned the car at some point.
Oh,
Was up all night, and
God. Didn't you go to Aaron's place after that?
I had to go somewhere. I was
you did?
I just moved to St. Louis, and so then I went
I
back.
kind of remember this.
I ended up at your place at like 8:30 in the morning. It was like I gotta
on that neighborhood I lived in with my ex-wife,
the
or
apartments over by Schultz and Dooley's.
okay,
So
all
we're
right.
in-
Oh,
National.
Bradford Park.
Bradford Park.
That might have been the
Chadrons.
Yeah. So yeah, but what I would need to do is I need to like, and it's hard with I have kids and responsibilities now, but to like take a weekend to get a bunch
Trip.
to get a bunch of mushrooms to be like, okay,
Yeah.
tonight.
Yeah,
I'm
that
gonna
is
take
hard.
enough.
I honestly, I didn't think about that, but like with
So you kind of
responsibilities-
are microdosing then, in a sense.
In a sense, except I'm taking like quite a few caps and nothing's happening to me. So I need to go, but I'm afraid that like okay, I'm afraid if I take
I think it's bad caps.
if I take one more, then it's like all of a sudden I'm put up to where
Right.
5 caps are. You know what I mean,
Mhm.
or whatever. So I need to take some time to take a weekend or something where I'm like, okay, this is the weekend where I go and do a bunch of mushrooms.
Yeah.
But then I need a whole day to recover because every time
Yeah,
I've done something like
yes.
that, I feel awful the next day.
I think everybody does.
emotionally,
Mhm.
and I don't like that at all.
Well, it's because it dumps your serotonin and dopamine.
so
Same with alcohol.
Yeah,
It's like,
exactly.
yeah. So yeah, except worse. Like when I've done that,
I find. Oh, I'm sorry.
that's it. That's all. I'm just saying I don't really have really good advice other than to put yourself get yourself in a safe place and try it.
Yeah, that's kind of what I said. I'm like, your frame of mind has a lot to do with the kind of trip you're going to have. Like, it's fairly important to either trip with intent or be relaxed and be around either nobody or people you super trust. Like, you don't want to be around anybody that's very sus.
Right.
Like, a safe environment.
I have a friend that says if he ever a friend of mine that's done it. He's actually studied enough that like he said he's offered and I trust him. He's like, if you need somebody there, I'm there for you.
I would
So
also say,
there's that. Don't necessarily be alone.
no, maybe not. That's probably best, especially if it's your first trip. Don't be alone. Also, and I've done shrooms more than acid, but I will say it can be a super positive experience. Like both myself and my girlfriend who've done shrooms, it can open up. This sounds woo-woo, but it can open up things in your brain that you weren't necessarily thinking about in that capacity. And but also you should know that you're probably going to throw up like 30 to 45 minutes after taking the shrooms. You're going to vomit. I have always vomited after taking shrooms.
Be aware that it might happen.
But like just be open and not just be open to the experience, I guess, is what I'm kind of trying to say. Also, patterns are awesome.
Yeah.
Like the tiles in my kitchen, they come up like in the first time I took shrooms, we were in the house on Del Mar, and there were stains on the carpet, and like they came up like an exploded diagram. It was fucking cool, and that's like the patterns on the tiles in my kitchen, like kind of tend to twirl like and turn into playing card shapes. It's really cool.
Yeah, fractal posters
Oh,
and
yeah.
like
Trees.
which
Trees.
are living
The
fractals. So if you have a Grateful Dead poster in your house,
Yeah, man.
stare
There's
at
a
that thing.
reason those posters look like that.
But also, I was at a house one time. Somebody had got one of those things you're supposed to stare out and see an image. I can't remember.
Magic
the,
eye?
Like something like that. That shit. It's a magic for
If
sure.
it's a nice day, if it's going to be a nice day,
Mhm.
I say being out in a rural environment like a meadow,
Yeah.
or something like that, and it's pleasant. That's probably the best place you can possibly be, in my opinion. You don't want to until you know what's up. Put yourself in a more intense environment, like a rave or even just a shopping mall.
Why on earth would you trip
I
at
had
a shopping
friends that
mall?
used to trip and go to nursing homes, which just seems like the worst possible place that you could go. Yeah, don't
That
do
seems like you're gonna really fuck your mind up, like, and bum yourself out.
they were twisted.
Yeah, I'll back up everything you guys have just said. I mean, I haven't done any hallucinogenic of any kind in, well over a decade, if not two. But bad trips I've had, and I've never had any like jumping out of a window bad trip.
I've never had a bad
I wouldn't say I've ever had a good trip either, though. Like, I've never had I was too young to probably have a self-actualization type journey. It was more of just this will be crazy. But the times it was bad that I didn't enjoy it were when I was in situations that were negative. Like, took some stuff, went to a friend's house, but that friend was like a meth dealer. And we sat around playing cards, and he was playing Marilyn Manson, who was an unknown artist at the time. So they were probably like early underground bootlegs or shit like that. And it was like the music wasn't doing anything for me. I was trying to stay together by playing a card game with somebody. Like, I just needed something to focus on that wasn't the music. But then we left that scene and went to a function. Remember when people used to hang out in the parking lot of the old
I was there when you did
Albertsons?
I was there when
I went to a function there.
Up.
People I knew. I was like, this would be great. I know all these people. I like all these people. But then some people were there that lukewarm about. And I just remember there was some really like homophobic conversations taking place. And I was like, I cannot be around. Like, so to that point, all I wanted was just to be around people who were at the same drug wavelength that I was on, or just people that I trusted more than anything. Calmness. And unfortunately that night I didn't get it, because that night the person I was with who had supplied the drug, he was in the Navy and was on leave or whatever. He had an extended leave, and we were driving, and he took a wrong turn to get on a highway. Then I realized it, and I said, I think you made a wrong turn. And he was like, oh shit. It flipped. Cop lights went on.
Yeah. That doesn't
so
help
I
the
had some
situation.
weed in my shoe. I'm like, this was the summer between college and high school. Yeah. And I was like, my life is over. I'm going to jail tonight. Like, they're going to find this weed. I'm in trouble. And I was a passenger. He was driving, but he was fucked up. And luckily we got off because the cop was retired military, and he knew my driver failed a sobriety test. He's like, you're not drunk, but I know you're on something. But then what made it even worse is he looked at me and he goes, can you drive? I'm on like a head full of acid.
Absolutely
not.
Yes.
In that situation, you said
and it was a stick shift. I mean, I'm sure I wavered, but I did drive us out of there. We ditched the weed somewhere, got back to my house.
If you are pulled over by a cop, I recommend being a white male.
Well, we were that. I said all that just to say yes, being in a safe mind space. I did. Yeah. I wanted to do DMT when I went to Tulum a few years ago, or I guess last summer. Wow. And I didn't realize that. I don't know if it's legal in Mexico or not, but there's a little an industry around places you can go and do that, and they have the people that guide you through it, and you take it and you do it, and then you just get back to your life. Supposedly the trip is like 30, 45, 20 minutes.
Tops.
Yeah.
And it's very intense. You go to another universe, you die. Like, I guess the goal is to die. Kill your ego.
You see mechanical elves. Mechanical elves. Look up the mechanical elves.
Okay. But I chickened out a little bit, but I also felt weird about it. Even though it's short, I didn't know what the recovery period was like. Right. Supposedly the recovery period is also short for it. But I was there with my wife, and I was like, I don't want to wreck our thing by going off and doing this thing. Totally She's not joining me for it, so I didn't do it.
So what's our overall advice? Find a safe place, someone that you trust. Try it out. Give yourself the next day.
Also, remember you're on drugs, because that's a thing.
I'm just realizing none of these are answering the question. The question was, what does a good and bad trip look like? I guess I answered that. Yeah. And we gave advices for avoiding it, and nobody's really microdosed, although that's sort of what Caleb is doing. Accidentally. Yeah, sorry, Ryan.
No, I was just going to say, remember, because time dilation is a huge thing with tripping. Like, minutes will feel like hours will feel like minutes. Just remember, if you ever start to get weird, just remember it's a drug, and this will end. What's the best joke you've ever heard is the second question.
Do you have one?
I do.
Well, you go first.
I don't remember a lot of jokes, except this one.
I remember a certain point. I don't know if we were recording or if this was just another. I remember you saying, I don't like jokes.
That sounds like something a shithead earlier version of me would say. I think I read this joke on a McDonald's kids activity placement when I was like 8, and I've always remembered it. If April showers bring May flowers, what do May flowers bring? Pilgrims is the correct answer.
Colonizers is the updated woke answer.
That's not funny, though. That's just sad and true.
Yeah. I have one. And I had to look it up because it's been a while since I've told it. There's 3 war veterans, and they're going to the doctor's office. And the reason they're going is because the military has adopted a new compensation program for veterans, retiring veterans. And the compensation system is pretty untraditional. They're told that they choose 2 points on their body, and the doctor measures those points on their body in centimeters, and they multiply it by 1,000, and that's the bonus that they get to walk away. So the first man goes into the doctor's office, and he thinks he's a little smarty guy. He says, "Measure me from the top of my head to my toe." And the doctor does it, and he is 183 centimeters tall, so he gets $183,000, and he walks away happily. And the second veteran lifts his hand high in the air. He's a real smarty guy, too. And he says, "Measure me from the tip of my middle finger to the bottom of my toe." And he walks away, $230,000 richer. The third man walks up. He says, "Doctor, measure me from the tip of my penis to the bottom of my balls." And the doctor's, "Are you sure about this?" And the guy says, "Yes, I am very sure." And he drops his pants. And the doctor looks down and he says, "My God, man, where are your testicles?" And the man says, "Vietnam."
Yep.
That's a wholesome joke.
Also a sad joke. Like, both of our jokes involved awful things.
Very good joke.
Caleb, what's your joke?
There's a Norm Macdonald joke that I like a lot, where he talks about being in a bookstore, and I'm not going to do it justice. You have to listen to him.
You have
talk
to have
about,
the Norm Macdonald
but
style.
he talks about being in a bookstore and seeing.
You want me to look it up and just have Norm tell it?
Yeah, it's a Norm Macdonald Matlock.
I met Matlock in a bookstore in LA, and he's reading a big, heavy book, you know. So I try to get up close. Do you know who Matlock is? He used to be Andy Griffith.
He played Matlock. That wasn't his real name.
Ben
right?
Matlock,
Yeah.
White suits, lawyer. He's a big,
Yes.
big lawyer. So he's reading a book, you know. So I don't like books.
No.
They make me sleepy. But
You surprised me.
I got close to him, and I pick up a book, you know,
Yeah.
because I want him to notice. And I don't know what to say, so I go, "Holy fuck, I didn't see that shit coming," something like that, right? And then he turns to me, and I was younger, and he said, "It's nice to see a young man who likes literature." And I go, "I like literature, I like TV, I like lawyers, you know, I like whites." And then my throat got dry, and my whole being felt like I was somewhere else. I never felt such a feeling. It was not him. Didn't even look like him. And you know what?
Yeah.
Stephen, I'll say this. Not a day goes by, I don't think about that fucking old man, how much I hate his fucking guts.
No, I hear you. I hear you.
I don't know why, but that's one of the funniest jokes ever. There's my joke.
While Ryan makes us a drink, I'll ask the next question. How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? From Jimmy Walnuts. I have a long, convoluted answer, so you should go first.
I don't have an answer.
You don't have an answer?
Go ahead.
Oh, man. Well, because a woodchuck cannot chuck wood, and the fact that there are no other animals other than humans that can chuck wood, then it's hard to establish a baseline to even make an estimate. But it would be a bad idea to use humans, but that's all we got, so we're going to use that. There's several questions that have to be answered before you can come to a conclusion about this. How heavy is the wood being chucked? Over what period of time? Are we talking about seasoned wood chucking athletes, or are we just talking about your average fuckface? There's other chucking attributes contribute to scoring potentially. Style, distance, accuracy. Is there a target? Or is it just about volume of wood chucked? For example, there's a city in this country of United States of America, Woodland, Maine, that has an annual wood chucking competition every Groundhog Day. And the K4 students tossed for accuracy towards a big orange circle painted in the snow. The 5th graders tossed for the longest distance. So there's no answer to this question. There's no way we can even estimate, is the short answer. And I'm sure it was a throwaway, so you got a throwaway answer.
Well, the answer is obviously a woodchuck just as much wood as if a woodchuck could chuck wood.
That's a lot
What he said.
easier way to answer that.
All right, our next questions come from Nick, the toy mad.
Thank you, by the way, Walnuts.
Yep.
And all right, bye.
Number 1, which take on Headmasters do you prefer? The Rebirth version and Super God Master Force, where humans and Nebulons turn into their heads, or the Japanese Headmaster version, where smaller Cybertronians connect to their larger transector bodies? I definitely prefer the flesh creatures joining with the Cybertronians, just because it's like, as opposed to it being like a weird sideways combiner situation, I just think it's more interesting.
Caleb, do you have a preference?
I have none. I don't know enough about it.
Humans as the heads of sentient robots, or sentient robots as the heads of, I guess, essentially mecha that they built for themselves. Nope, opinion.
No opinion.
I like the transector idea because you introduced fewer characters.
Oh.
And you don't have to ponder the whole who is in control of who question.
That's true. That's fair. Nick's answer is, I prefer the Rebirth version, people becoming part of the Transformer. I think it's more what kids would want. 2, they would like the idea of potentially getting into more involved with the Transformer. I know I did. The smaller Transformers with big bodies make less sense to me. It feels like an overcomplicated and unnecessary, and takes one of the most fun parts of the gimmick away. Both are cool ideas, though, and everyone is entitled to their own opinion.
I agree. It probably does help a kid to imagine, like little Timmy.
Tommy.
Timmy's
in a well.
They could be a Transformer someday. I get that it probably contributes more to the imagination and marketing of a product for it to be a human in there, but from a storytelling, I think it's simpler, more straightforward.
His second question is deeply personal. Aaron, when you picture yourself like your residual self-image from The Matrix, are you wearing glasses? Same question for Ryan, although I'm pretty confident I know the answer. Same question for Caleb, although I'm very confident I know the answer. My reasons for asking this will become clear one day. Don't think about it too much.
You made it so
sinister.
Yeah. It sounds very evil genius. I don't know the answer to this question because I don't know how to picture my residual self. But
when you think of yourself in your mind, like imagine yourself.
I'm probably not self-aware enough to.
Oh my God, you're not one of those people who's like, I don't have any interior monologue, which I cannot believe is true of anyone.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying that I've never pictured myself outside of myself.
Weird.
Yeah, I have monologues, interior monologues, where I actually will not realize that I'm saying some of the monologue out, like in real life, out loud.
I do that too.
Yeah.
And my kid will be like, "Why did you say that?" Or my wife will say,
Yeah.
"What?" And I'll be like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I was having a conversation." And then they'll decide to press me on it. Like, really, what were you talking about? And then I explain it, and they're like, "Oh." And I'm like,
Why'd you ask,
"Why'd
fucker?
you ask? I'm having an interior." Yeah. Then part of me is like, "Well, I shouldn't have. I need to be more careful about saying it."
I have interior monologues all the time. Well, if I've smoked weed, my brain is nothing but interior monologues, and it's
you have
sometimes
glasses
terrifying. I would say when I picture myself with glasses because that's really about all I've ever known. I'm not against not having glasses, but contacts are too uncomfortable for me, and
Ryan?
there's no point in getting LASIK now because I already need reading glasses.
I do when I picture myself in glasses, but when I dream, I'm never wearing glasses.
How do you look in mirrors when you dream?
No, sometimes you dream
You just
from
know
a
you're
third
not
person.
Yeah, you just
Like,
I don't really ever dream from
sometimes
the third
you
person.
see like it's a movie.
Okay, I never have those kind of dreams.
never picture myself having glasses on.
Have you ever? You don't have any vision problems other than old man vision.
Other than old man vision, the eyeglass specialist says that I need to start thinking about reading glasses, and I'm like, fuck
you. Yeah.
And then, but no, I don't think about myself. I don't put myself in glasses when I'm thinking about myself or envisioning scenarios for myself.
Presbyopia. That is the name of the condition for which, as you age, your close vision, you lose focus, the ability to focus on things near to you. And I have it. It's so annoying because, I mean, I'm sure you guys experience it. Like, for me, it's, okay, I'm wearing glasses, but I need to see this thing that's right in front of me, and I can't see it, so I just have to put them on my head and
Yeah, I have
see
that
the
too.
thing.
My issue is going to be hearing loss before it's vision loss.
Well, walnuts, or no, that wasn't a walnuts. That's a
We'll
Nick
see
Warren
what
question.
I guess we're
Yeah,
going to find
what-
out what
yeah.
this is all about.
You're very
I'm
confident
not
you know
gonna
the
think about
answer.
it too much.
All right,
He knows Caleb doesn't wear
for a
glasses,
question,
so that's
for
easy.
a question that involves internal dialogue, I'm not going to think about this too much.
Our next is from Argonus Prime. Number one, are the only Transformers any of you collect G1 or third-party versions of G1 characters?
I mean, I haven't collected in decades, but the only Transformers I have are G1.
The only ones I have are original G1 toys or reissues, except the one Aaron gave me as a gift, which was, I think, Masterpiece.
It was a
Prime.
knockoff, shrunken down version of Masterpiece Optimus Prime. Yes,
I already know Aaron.
MP10
Aaron's-
specifically,
I know
since
Aaron's
there's two
answer.
models now.
Aaron does not collect G1 because I loaned him my G1s and he shoved them in some kind of shelf.
What are you talking about? I'll collect a G1. I put them in a display.
But are they like? I'm sorry.
I
I'm
also
so
don't
sorry.
know what
I'm
you're
so
talking
Son of a
about.
bitch.
In my mind, I didn't think that you actually had. You did not collect like. But I guess I'm misunderstanding, and that's on me. G1 would be characters that are in the G1 universe, and not the original issue Transformers from the 80s.
Well, looking at the question, I think what you're stating is how they meant it. Yeah, the G1 versions of the characters. Yes,
But it also has third-party versions, which did not exist. So
right. That's what I mean. Right. So it means G1 versions of the characters, not G1 toys. But the G1 toys are
included
G1 versions of the characters.
So what do you do then, Aaron? I'm sorry.
I collect across a little spectrum, but the focus is definitely G1. There's a company that makes third-party versions of IDW comic versions of the characters, and I collect those, which is MMC. I've tried to collect as many of those. Although, back to an earlier question, if I were to have to sell off my collection, that would be the first thing I would sell off before the G1 stuff. Hasbro has started a little bit to put out IDW versions of characters. In the past, like 10 years ago, they put out an IDW version of their Springer and Brainstorm, which I have both of those in their Generations line. I had them before I even read IDW, and I've been collecting the newer Beast Wars figures that they've been putting out in the Legacy, I can't remember what it's called, Legacy line. So I've been collecting Beast Wars, although I think I'm probably done with that. I also sometimes buy figures that aren't anything, like they're their own thing. They aren't necessarily homages to G1, but they're just cool looking figures. Like there's a Optimus Primal made by Generations Toys that is actually, it's inspired by a Beast Wars figure, but the figure itself, in gorilla mode, it even looks like a robot. Like it's a robot in robot mode, and it's a robot in gorilla mode. It looks like it's wearing headphones, but it's a cool sculpted figure, and it has nothing to do with any universe really visually. So I collect across the spectrum, but G1 is the focus.
What?
Is that an answer?
Yeah. Yeah. What is your opinion on the Unicron trilogy? I had to look this up because the original cartoon of Beast Wars are the only Transformers cartoons I've seen, and as I understand, the Unicron trilogy is a combo of Armada, Energon, and Cybertron.
Yeah, you got it.
And I am absolutely interested in it. People seem to love it, and we'll get to it if all goes well. I mean, we're going in chronological order, so.
I'm assuming Caleb doesn't have much feedback. I haven't watched enough of it to have a solid opinion. I know I watched a couple episodes around 2007 whenever it came out because I saw commercials for it and it looked cool. So visually it looks very cool. I've heard it's quite silly from what I saw, from what I remember, it was quite silly from a acting standpoint, voice acting. So I don't know. I mean, it seemed advanced for its time, but I had a hard time making space for it in my life, even after I watched a couple episodes. I feel like the next question is about whether we would ever consider doing episode by episode. And I looked it up. There's 52 episodes of Armada, so that's 2 years for us at our current rate. Actually, there's 2 years for each of these. 52, 51 of Energon, and 52 of Cybertron. And that makes me want to eat myself. Piece by piece.
Oh.
It's just it feels tedious. Who knows? If the series is great, maybe it wouldn't be tedious. But
I just put it
I remember seeing it. It felt like it's anime in a way that's not appealing.
Oh, okay. I haven't seen any of
to
it.
me.
So we'll see. It's all on the table.
I did play. There was a video game for PlayStation or PlayStation 2 that came out that was connected to this universe, and I did play the shit out of it and beat it, and it was fun. You know, it feels like for me that universe is a substitute universe to get back to G1. Ultimately, you're playing it. There is an Optimus Prime. There is a Megatron. They look completely different. All the other characters are different, but they're still transforming robots. So you're just biding your time until maybe, hopefully, you get to the ones that you love again. That's how it felt for me.
Right.
But it deserves its own respect unto itself for those who love it. Will we ever
All
do
right.
it?
I don't know.
Right. Ryan's
said,
open to it.
it's
I'm
all-
open to anything.
Our next round of questions comes from Big Kid. Number 1, what is your favorite and least favorite G1 episode?
My favorite one is where they take Galvatron to the
Therapist?
therapist planet. That's a great episode.
It is.
My least favorite, I couldn't find one in particular. I just think anything that, I don't equate a bad episode with a least favorite. I equate a bad episode for me with something that's boring. So an episode that I don't recall, or is something that's relatively boring, is probably something that I would say is my least favorite. It's probably something located in the first season. That's all.
I'm trying to think of an example. I'm trying to think of one that I would say is boring. I'm sure they exist.
What's the most boring episode would be the one that would probably be my least favorite.
Ryan, what do you say?
There are a lot of episodes I really like SOS Dinobots holds a place in my heart. I love the Dinobots, and I had a VHS of it. Heavy Metal War is fantastic, and Golden Lagoon. But I think my favorite is Dweller in the Depths, which is the season 3 one.
Yeah,
the animation's great. The story's weird, involves Quintesson era Cybertronian lore, and it gets the movie cast back together.
Yeah.
I love the episodes that delve into the past of the Transformers.
Yeah. It sounds like we're all on the same page with
My
this.
least favorite,
Yeah.
Steel City. I fucking hate that episode.
See, I love it because
I
it's
know
so
you do.
bad.
It's an ongoing bit with us where I enjoy it too, because it's like Gumby and it's just ridiculous. But I remember that.
I mean, it's
episode.
iconic
Yeah.
for how bad it is.
Yes.
I will also say that Bot and Surprise Party are up there.
Surprise Party.
Was the
I had
worst
I had
episodes.
that on my list as a bad one. I really like Dark Awakening. I like the darker ones. The Dark Awakening, I know there's probably some really silly parts, but that is an emotional fucking episode. Call of the Primitives, probably mostly because of the animation style, and it's just like it stands on its own. And there's some lore involved, even though the lore is terrible. I liked Autobot Spike. I think Prime Target was one of my favorites.
That's a good one.
The episode when we rewatched it wasn't as great as I remember it as a kid, but when I was a kid, I loved the Killing Jar, which is the one where they Quintessons
ship.
kidnap. Yeah, they kidnap Cyclonus and Magnus and Retgar and Daniel, and I thought that was pretty good. Like you guys said, the lore and backstory episodes, which I included the Keys to Vector Sigma, Five Faces, Secret of Omega Supreme, and Chaos. Like that's more of a individual's backstory versus Transformers lore, but I think that we didn't really get that with any other character other than Cup.
Except for Prime, but yeah.
And even though I hate humans being too strong of a story element, I really liked episodes like Make Tracks. Like Raoul was a good side character for a couple of episodes. It was not that great of an episode, but Trans Europe Express with Augie. Augie, I thought Augie was
that I didn't
so
write
cool.
down, but was up there in the ones I hated.
Yeah. How'd you feel about, I can't remember the name of the episode, but the one with the Technobots and the drifter Dirk Manus? I like Dirk Manus
I like
too.
Dirk Manus though.
Every now and again
So
they would bring
charming.
these like these rogues in.
I liked that episode.
That was well written.
Oh, I also noted Heavy Metal War as a standout one.
I put that too.
And Fire in the Sky, where they introduced Skyfire.
So
that was a
listed,
lore
like,
episode.
15 episodes.
I know. For the ones that I can't stand, Carnage in C minor is very difficult. And these are probably all stereotypical bad episodes, but Carnage in C minor, very bad. Surprise Party and Autobot Run I think that was the first or second ACOM episode.
That's pretty bad.
And it just looks so terrible.
If you could be a Transformer, would you be an Autobot or Decepticon, and what would your skill be?
I want to be a Decepticon, but I would probably be more useful as an Autobot where my skill was to actually build something that works properly.
Proactivity is your skill?
Yeah, I'm thinking, where I'm
planning, execution.
Yeah. They need a good project manager. Autobots. I'd be project manager. Now, what would I transform into, though? Probably, I don't know. Fuck, I have no clue. What do you think? I got nothing.
I'd say it'd be an Autobot because I can't fucking work for Galvatron.
True.
That'd be bad news.
That's just so Toxola. And I'd be a bartender, like Swerve. But if we're going to go with the original cartoon, I guess I'd be in Demolitions. Like, I'm pretty good at making gadgets.
Yeah,
and bombs are fun.
Yeah, you'd be like down my lane, like making something that's helpful.
Aaron's just flipping through Transformers cartoons.
Yeah, I'm trying to find one that I feel is boring per Caleb. The Core, that might be one. I just happenstance landed on it. That's an ACOM.
Back to the old question.
Yeah, I was trying to think like what would be because I feel like there's something to like in every episode.
Oh, sure.
Most episodes. I don't know. I was having a hard time thinking, are there any of these that I just felt like a slog? And maybe to some extent they all feel like a slog.
Oh.
And to some extent they're all amazing.
Yeah, the Hollywood one with Make Track.
That's a pretty sloggy one.
Or not Make Tracks. Hoist Goes Hollywood. That's fucking stupid.
Yeah. Let's see. My answer to the question, Autobot or Decepticon?
Also, for my alt form, I'd turn into a stealth bomber.
Ah. Ooh, look at you. Very 90s. That's very 80s, right? It's 80s is a stealth bomber. SR-72 Blackbird, 80s.
Blackbirds, I was thinking more of the B-52. Not B-52, B-2.
It depends on the lore, because in the cartoon, Decepticons are just villains that show up. But in the other continuities, they make an attempt to portray Decepticons as kind of a rebellious force that's standing up against oppression, but then they end up going bad like every communist revolution that's happened to date. In those continuities, the Autobots aren't great either. I lean towards Autobot generally, and my skill would be sucking my own dick.
Okay.
I pulled a Ryan.
I got one.
Extra height. Caleb's like, I'll trade in for that one.
I would be an Autobot. I would want to transform into a submarine, and I would be involved with reconnaissance.
Nice.
Yeah. Is there a submarine transformer?
Not to my knowledge.
Yeah, I would be I mean, it seems like something that would be Decepticon, but I would be an Autobot submarine. And I would be like, doing reconnaissance.
You'd just be hanging out with like Sea Spray and what's his fuck? The Triple Changer, the aircraft carrier. What's his name?
Broadside.
Thank
Took
you.
me a second.
Definitely, I think that would be the way to go. It would help the Autobots get some intelligence on stuff before it's just too late.
It's too late.
Yeah, I would probably try to be in some kind of communications role, or I don't know. I'd be fun to be in a planning role. Like I would like to try and help make them better.
My name would be Sonar.
Good name.
Yep, I'd be a nuclear-powered
That
submarine.
sounds like a Joe name. Is there a Joe called Sonar?
Aaron would just turn into an Excel spreadsheet.
There's a deep six. Yeah. But yeah, I'd have to call myself
Guys,
Sonar.
I'm going to enable my macro functionality to make this analyzation faster.
Who's looking for a VLOOKUP?
Let me show you how to do that.
Yeah.
That'd be the thing I'm always saying to people. I'll show you how to do that.
Maybe
Move.
Maybe pivot table can help us with this situation.
Not only were the original Transformers toys awesome, but so was the packaging. What other toy line had stellar packaging? I was a big fan of the Superpowers line and the packaging. Big Kid says.
Yeah.
Does it,
I don't know the superpowers.
Does it have to be Transformers? Transformers? Is that the rest of the word?
No, they're
Not
talking
only
about other
were the
lines.
original Transformers toys awesome, but so was the packaging. What other toy line had stellar packaging?
Thanks, Ryan. I mean, G.I. Joe was amazing, but if I had to go beyond that, I like the Masters of the Universe packaging.
That's good. They also had little pack-in comic books.
Yeah, I looked that up. I mean, look at this shit.
It's really amazing matte paintings.
Yeah.
These things,
Masters
the Masters of the Universe is
had some
fucking
great
awesome.
looking
It's
stuff.
like you could tell they took homage from like fantasy style painting, but it's a little more cartoonified. But it's so
people that were doing
amazing.
doing just that.
that you're. I'm sure. Yeah, of
Masters
course.
of the Universe has outstanding packaging.
In this same article, I looked up Dino Riders, kind of along the same genre. Like this art is fucking
Weird
awesome.
the Dino Riders didn't take off.
Yeah,
Like, seems like a no-brainer.
dinosaurs, war,
Yeah.
machinery.
I went with Voltron.
Voltron's
I don't
good.
know Voltron packaging.
They had also one of the cool things was like in Voltron, like when you buy Devastator, like if you buy all 5 of the cats together, it had the package which had really cool artwork on it, and then there was like an open flap, like a book where you turned it, and it had the robots in it. It was very cool.
I remember these. I had this version.
I had the metal diecast version, and I'm sad that I don't have that anymore.
Yeah,
Your fists could shoot out.
Yep,
I'm going to say nothing can beat the Masters of the Universe packaging.
that's probably the best. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks amazing. It's so good. I mean, Transformers is great.
Mhm.
I mean, I think that's acknowledged in the
Eye-catching,
question.
Yeah.
Yep.
Pops off the shelf, man.
I feel like G.I. Joe is a little basic. I mean, I like it,
But it's good.
yeah.
But it's good. Dough for Joe.
For sure.
From Captain Alexis, you've watched hours of some terrible Sunbow dialogue, but what are your best, worst lines from the Transformers season 1 to 4? I'm assuming you don't want us to say something from all seasons, so I just picked one. The other Alex asked us something similar, but I'll pick another best line. My favorite wrench.
That's the best line.
That's the best line.
Yeah.
Well, then I'm going to cheat and go ahead and be like, since I already picked Ew Gross, I will go with the dad.
There you go.
But
I think the question is not best and worst, but best worst.
You're right.
oh, it's the best.
I
worst.
You guys
misread it,
failed.
actually.
No, I did not, because my lines are typically best worst lines.
That's true.
I gave them simple brains, just like real dinosaurs.
I captured a couple humdingers here for Optimus Prime. As the Earthlings say, lay it on me, man. Prime is white as fuck.
Lay it on me, man.
From Prime Problem, he says, that's the one, I'm pretty sure that's the one where he had a clone of himself, and there was that whole situation.
We must have a race.
Yes, Spike, this time I am definitely me. Or I, myself, oh, whoever I am. Put her there, partner.
How did you find that?
I Googled it. I thought I had one more. Nope, that's it.
Wow.
Thankfully.
This alligator is big and heavy.
That's a pretty good one.
Good old Steel City.
Channeling Transformers Reanimated, is there a missing G1 cartoon episode you'd have written?
I think more historical-based G1 fiction would have been great. Anything before they left Earth. Just more stuff like that Cup story I was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Like a little bit of backstory behind... And Omega Supreme to an extent, but more stuff like that, like what was going on for these individual characters before they ended up on Earth.
I had a very similar thing, revisiting like the technology that sent the aerial bots back to the golden age of Cybertron and War Dawn.
Mm-hmm.
But I also thought, instead of like literally sending them there, you could do like a Quantum Leap style, where like Ironhide gets sent back to himself and a younger robot.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Mine's pretty basic. I just always liked all the episodes where they go into the depths of Cybertron and explore it.
Yeah,
because
you
it
love
se-
that.
Because it seems like they really don't know very much at all about what's below the surface of their own
They really
planet.
don't seem curious.
So I'd like to see a whole series of just them kind of in a documentary style. Like they're like
It's like those exploring the catacombs type
where
shows.
they're like it's almost like a first person kind of where they're holding a video camera or something and they're exploring the depths
Yeah,
of Cybertron.
That doesn't sound boring at all.
I'm into it. Caleb, I'm with you.
Yeah, no, and I accept that it is boring, but it's something that I would like to see.
What if we revisit the Atlanteans?
Yeah.
I guess you have your answer.
Number 3. One of the delights of the podcast is when you let us peek behind the cum-splattered curtains of your shameful and shameless smutty lives.
Are we sure this isn't a Robinus question?
I
Let
know.
me look through here.
Is there a personal poop or semen-related story that we haven't heard that benefits the end of G1?
I would say there's no benefit at all. Did you guys come up with one?
I did.
All right, Ryan.
You want to hear it?
I don't know if will it benefit the end of G1.
I
Does it
think
meet
that's
that.
yeah. I don't think I've related this, but for a time in my late teens, I was, I'll call it experimenting with myself, like Louis Pasteur.
I hope your discoveries were just as impactful.
Yeah. Well, I did put only mine was within my masturbation ritual.
I didn't realize that's what you were talking about.
It's a surprise. For a period of like 6 months, I was like, what happens if I pinch off the semen tube when I'm coming so it doesn't come out? And the answer is it backs up into your bladder and you pee it out later. So for a long time, I was like, no cleanup. This is perfect. But then it started to feel
Caleb
really
is so uncomfortable.
No, I'm okay.
And I don't feel great myself.
It turned out like I just started feeling really weird. I got freaked out about it, and I couldn't imagine it's a good thing to do long term. I still have my lab notes if you guys want to see them.
Of what?
His details is
Figure A.
yeah.
You were taking it's your notes on the experience.
Yes,
You were taking notes on this whole deal.
I assumed he was joking.
I
but-
was joking, and for whatever reason, Caleb took it seriously. But that's a true thing that happened.
He's got these Leonardo da Vinci sketches
Yes.
of the procedure and
Of like, it just shows the forward and backward arrows of the cum.
You know, like October 5th, I pinched it off. Nothing came out.
Same as every other day, Pinky.
I'm starting to feel weird about this. I don't know. I didn't know what you
no cleanup! Exclamation mark! Happy face emoji.
I don't know.
Ryan goes to semen. I go to poop. In junior high school, two friends of mine. I remember one of them.
Pooped in my
The
mouth.
other person is Hazy, who it was, and that's actually the person that drives the story. But we were walking home from junior high, and we discovered an abandoned house on the walk back from school. We broke into it,
Oh, I don't know if I know this
and
story.
it looked like it'd been tossed by the feds. All their shit was in there, but everything was dumped over, drawers open, dishes crashed on the ground. Like it was wild. So we were just kind of exploring the house, seeing if there was anything interesting to steal, just checking out these people's shit. One of the people in our party just decided to take a shit on the ground. It wasn't me, and they did it. I'll never forget it because because it smelled really badly. And then when I got home later
How
that
did he
day,
wipe?
I don't know, and I don't know if I can't remember if the decision was made because the actual bathroom was so fucked up, or if they were just being a deviant. I don't remember.
No,
that.
it's 100% the second one.
Probably.
It's possible that the second one stems from the first one, though.
Maybe.
No.
Either way, it's
Whatever.
deviant behavior.
There's
I
no
agree.
way that isn't just like.
I mean, the house
you
was
don't have
fucked
to
up.
shit in a house.
So for
like
all I
that.
know, the toilets were kicked in or something. But you could also, pinch it off.
Sure, exactly.
Okay.
Later, I got home and I told my mom about it, and then
What?
she and a neighbor, not about the shitting, but it's about this crazy abandoned
okay.
house. And she and a neighbor went and found the house, and they broke in and stole some shit. My neighbor stole a table saw, and my mom, she took a jewelry box or something.
Yeah,
But they didn't have jewelry in it, but it was just a
So
box.
they went and committed crimes as well.
Yeah. And then I don't know if the heat started. I don't know
You mean
if
like the fuzz.
yeah, I don't know if like somehow or another there was word that maybe people were breaking into this house.
Stupid house with the shit on the floor. People are stealing shit. From
But
it.
I remember feeling like the heat was too hot, and so my mom and my neighbor both drove out to Spring Manor Road and dumped the shit that they.
That is, can I say, that is stupid. Like, there was no way they were going to connect anybody to that crime.
Probably, especially not at that time. There were no Ring doorbells or anything like that.
No, there's nothing.
The only other thing I can think of, back to acid tripping, I was on a high school acid trip, and
I know this story.
we were in the woods, me and two other guys, and we took three other guys, and we took a lot, and I saw a lot of shit, but everybody went to bed, and I was in no
You were not
position to
ready
be
for bed.
alone or go to sleep. I did not sleep that night because that shit, I don't know if it has stimulant properties, but I could not. There's no way I could sleep.
Oh, yeah, your head's full of acid.
But I went back to my tent, so the property we were on was one of my friend's property, and there was the makings of a cabin there, an old cabin that had been torn down, and all that was left was the floor area and I guess the foundation that it was put on, which is weird because these woods were untamed, so I don't know why a cabin was here to begin with. But
Maybe
Presumably
the-
the cabin wasn't built in the woods, like the woods came later.
Yeah.
I have no clue. The geography was right outside the boundaries of Silver Dollar
Sure.
City in Branson.
Part of
you
the
could see the
park.
train tracks. Anyway,
You could see the train tracks from the Silver Dollar City train.
I think you could hear the train when it came through. I'm
Okay.
sorry, I
Wow,
couldn't
that's
see the train
close.
tracks. Anyway, I had to take a shit, and there were no facilities, and I've never taken a shit in the woods before. And I was on acid, and I wasn't going to go venturing into the darkness alone. And so I took a shit on the cabin floor, and the next morning when I woke up and the property owner, just a high school kid my age, his family owned the property, discovered it. He was really, really fucking angry, and I mean,
Yeah.
why
wouldn't he be?
It was just an innocent shit.
Why didn't you? Why?
And
did
it's
you
not like the floor was
why-
pristine. The floor was this weathered
Why-
old cabin floor.
No, but my question is, why did you shit on the floor instead of in the fucking woods?
I just said, explain that. I didn't want to. The cabin was a little bit elevated from the woods. I just didn't want to go out there. I was
He
scared.
was scared. He was on acid.
But you could have taken 2 steps away from.
Yeah, but I didn't.
Okay.
You gotta give
Okay. Yeah.
Hey,
ask
It
me
came
why.
from. It didn't come from a place of being a dick.
We-
I was.
No, I know.
We've got to give past Aaron
Some grace.
Some grace. Okay.
Okay.
I have a poop story.
All right.
All right, put it out there.
So when I was a kid on our block, our neighbors, a few houses down, I played with a lot. He built a clubhouse. So there were playing. I don't remember what was going on, the scenario, but some people were inside the clubhouse, and we were trying to get in the clubhouse, or we were combating them. You know, there was some kind of play going on where we were like,
Okay.
where we were fighting them. And I had the great idea of like, I was like, I'm going to poop in a box and put the box in the clubhouse with them to like get them out. So I went into the house. So
And you say you weren't your own person.
yeah. So I had
A real people pleaser.
I found a box. Yeah. Well, these things kind of all of a sudden, they'll go off the rails a little bit. You know, there's got to be an outlet. This is what happens when you don't, deal with those issues. You go crazy. So I took a box and I went into the bathroom, in the house, pooped in the box, and then put it in there.
Jesus Christ.
And then, like years later, I was at some sort of event, and the mom was at the event, and I hadn't seen her in a while. It was me and her and some other people, and I was talking to her. she had no problem bringing up like, oh yeah, do you remember when you pooped in that box and
How
put
did
it
she
in?
know?
How did anybody know?
Yeah.
How did anybody know that I pooped in a box?
I thought it was a
Yeah.
secret. Like
I put it in the clubhouse where there were other people in the clubhouse.
Wait, you did it with everybody watching?
No.
No, not pooping, but like you put it
Yes.
in there with everybody watching.
Like I had a box that I pooped in.
Uh-huh.
I went outside and put it into the clubhouse. They opened the box, and my poop
right in front of you.
No,
Okay.
they were inside. I don't know. I was.
I'm just
they were
confused
inside
as
the
to how everybody
clubhouse
knew it was you.
Yeah.
because I put the box
Okay, they remember that.
in the
Okay.
clubhouse, and
Alright.
then they opened it, and my
You
poop
should have
was
been
in
like,
it.
that wasn't my poop. I got that poop from a different guy.
Sure, yes.
Or I didn't put a box in the clubhouse.
It was-
I would. There's many lies that can be told
yeah,
to cover
they
this
all
up.
saw
But anyway,
me put the box.
she knew and
in
she
the
brought it up.
clubhouse.
Go on,
And then
sorry.
it's not like then. And then of course she probably had to come along and as the adult and dispose of the box with the poop in it and said, I'm sure she was like, who pooped in this box? And they would be like, well, Caleb pooped in that box. And so years later, she was like, yeah, brought it up at this banquet. It was like, yeah, you remember when you pooped in that box?
Well, but it is also nice that then you went on to marry that woman.
No, this was,
Now you're happy.
no, that was not my wife. No, this was...
I'm sure she had a humorous tone when she brought it up. Or
Why would you do
No, he
that?
says no.
What a horrible human. Why would you ever say that?
I think
She was mad.
She was
like she was
really-
still mad.
She was. I don't know if it was that humorous or not, but she was sticking it.
who were the people you were with? We can.
I
edit.
would love to bring
Oh,
that up.
see, it was down the street. It was like it's before you moved over on McConnell.
block party.
That woman was so mad. Like that, it's stuck in her mind.
Yeah.
And
Well, and
bro-
she knew you
brought it
well.
up
You were a
in
regular
public.
fixture at that house.
So every year now, I walk in the Nixa parade, and I'm still friends with that
And she
family.
throws shit at you.
Well, that'd be funny. That would be. Oh, she hands me a box. No, but every time I see her now, like when I'm waving, oh, she waves, or I see her. That's all I can think of. Is
I
that-
was thinking she flipped you off.
well, she doesn't have
she
to.
knows. She knows that
She
you
can flip
did
me
that.
off just by looking at me. It's just like you pooped in a box
God.
and left it in my kid's clubhouse.
Oh God.
It was on their property in that neighborhood.
It's
or?
in their yard. The
Okay,
clubhouse,
all right.
On the street.
I'm picturing something that's being built off property somewhere.
No, it's
but
not some fucking weird abandoned house that like your mom are robbing or anything like that.
I'm not an animal.
No, I'm not an animal. I am.
I did it in a box.
Yeah.
All right.
So there's an additional poop story for you.
right. Piling them on.
All right. From Betty Guns. What is another show / cartoon did you all watch as kids that you would have that you would base a podcast on, i.e., Jim and Ninja Turtles, etc.?
I would do Muppet Babies in a heartbeat.
That's a good answer.
I would do Muppet
I like
Babies.
it.
Be a really good one. There's a lot of.
He loves that history. It's the most history-oriented
They
cartoon.
clip a lot of they clip a lot of stuff in there, including Star Wars shit.
Yeah.
I mean, they make a lot of connections in that show, which is actually interesting. That I'd be really curious to know. Like they use a lot of footage from old movies. They even do Star Wars. It had
and
to,
old like documentary footage.
So part of it's like, what was their strategy for getting that footage? You know, I guess that they were connected to the Star Wars, or they.
I don't
think
there
at the
actual
time.
Star Wars stuff though, or was it just parody? 'Cause I don't
I
know.
think
No,
they
I
did
think it
some
was
parody
pretty-
stuff.
I
But
think it was pretty,
They probably
though.
got the rights. I mean, Jim Henson was a powerful figure at the
That's
time.
right.
I'm sure
So
he
maybe-
could call,
so- but
get in
again,
contact with George Lucas and get the
that.
rights.
So doing the show would elicit a lot of conversation about that.
Yeah.
I would do
That's a
Jim.
good answer.
Yeah.
I would completely be behind doing a Jimcast because I recently revisited that show a little bit and watched like several episodes of the first season, and it's quite good. Like, it also is not necessarily episodic the way that Transformers is, where it has a theme that runs like there's a running line throughout the
Right.
season.
I like that.
Yeah, it's it's actually quite good. Showtime synergy. What about you?
You didn't give us limes in these cocktails. Where's my lime butts?
Oh boy.
My lime coins.
Oh boy. I wouldn't give him any
Take
more.
him back upstairs.
Give the man nothing. He's on that. He's going through that evolution.
Uh-oh.
I don't see the look in his eye yet, but it's heading that direction. Rhyme butt, lime butt.
There's not many cartoons that I was really passionate about as a kid. It was really only Transformers. I would watch G.I. Joe. I think the closest things that I religiously watched as I did to Transformers, I liked Ninja Turtles quite a bit, and I liked DuckTales.
Yeah,
So
DuckTales is
maybe
great
DuckTales.
choice.
What about
be-
Tailspin?
Tailspin. Also
I didn't
a
like
great
it. I mean,
choice.
Tailspin was a good show. It was no DuckTales.
Yeah.
Chippendale Rescue Rangers. Y'all can just like die in the forest.
I
like Rescue.
if
No,
I
it was a good show. They were
It's
all
also
good
a
shows.
great NES game.
I enjoyed Gummy Bears quite a bit.
Bouncing here and there and everywhere.
Yep.
Hmm.
Adventures that are beyond compare.
They are the gummy bears.
But DuckTales was the king for me. I would draw. I
Oh,
drew
dude.
ducks incessantly as or
Gizmo Duck.
or like Disney
Launch-
duck characters
You
incessantly
liked
as a
Launchpad
kid.
McQuack, yeah.
There is something.
Yeah.
There is.
That was the later years. That's when they jumped the shark.
And maybe I'm crazy, but there is something really satisfying about drawing the Disney duck bill.
Yeah, there is.
There is.
A lot of loopies.
The overlap.
Yeah.
It's almost like drawing that S like that.
The chain S's.
It's
yeah.
challenging, but fun, satisfying. Donald Duck was always my favorite Disney character, so I'll stick with that.
Okay.
Cool.
We're doing a DuckTales, guys.
Muppet Babies.
What other show / cartoon that you all watch currently that you would base a podcast on, i.e., Friends, Young Sheldon, etc.?
Where did they get those
hate
choices?
Those choices.
I have two. I would do.
Also, I think there's no show we all watch currently, but go ahead.
I'd do Adventure Time,
Okay.
and I would probably find more interesting and humorous The Regular Show.
Okay.
Highly recommend both if you haven't seen them. Adventure Time, Regular Show is really fucking good.
I've heard him recommend these.
Have you guys
programs
seen?
forever.
Have you guys ever watched
don't know.
Adventure Time or the Regular
I've watched
Show?
some Adventure
I
Time.
don't know what the
and it
regular
is-
show
The
is.
Regular
amazing.
Show. I think you'd really love the Regular Show.
I know Adventure Time because my girlfriend's a millennial, so
Yeah, and I like Adventure Time because I have children. The Regular Show is really good. So there's mine.
what about you, Aaron?
I feel like half the fun of doing this Transformers podcast is making fun of the poor quality of the show of Transformers. And I feel like cartoons have evolved, or television in general has evolved, and there's not a lot of bad quality, so that takes away from it a little bit. So I feel like I would want to watch shows that are of obvious bad quality, or at least have some element of very criticizable character to it. So I thought about what my family watches: Victoria, Melody, Carolina, and they watch. Victoria is really into dating shows like The Bachelor, The Bachelorette, and the really trashy ones like Love Island. Which
Does she watch that show? I can't remember. It's not Naked. It's like Naked. It's not Naked Lunch. That's
Naked and Afraid?
no. It's a British show where it's a dating show where you get to see levels of a person's naked body. Like it starts. There's like 5 people, and it starts with a door that goes up to
Oh,
their
for
like
Christ's
penis.
I've never even heard of that.
It's actually pretty good.
Yeah.
Like I recommend it. It's actually a lot of fun. Wes and I discovered it in Iceland, and
Nice.
and then it goes up to their navel.
And it's European,
their
or
tits. It's British, I believe.
okay.
And you can see all the.
Oh yeah,
boobies.
it's all out there. They've seen me. They've seen what I'm about.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Well,
I mean, I don't know if that one would
I'm sorry,
necessarily
I
be as
derailed
good.
it.
No. I don't know if you get a chance to know the personalities of the characters. So
You know, you've got
criticizing somebody's tits
It's
and
not-
dick is a little different than
That's
their
why.
personality.
That's why I like it,
But-
because it's not like that.
Yeah.
It seems really superficial, but like and they do make decisions based on the body, but like it is actually fairly positive.
You have a good point, Aaron. Like the Regular Show and Adventure Time are really solid.
right.
So then the question is, would we?
So do we just gush over it for 2 hours?
Would we? If we pivoted to something like that, would our show have the same appeal because
That's why I'm worried about Beast Wars. Although I'm sure we'll find something.
You
know what? If we're forced to be,
fine.
if we're, I mean, you know what? But then you're forced to figure out a new angle, which is, you know, growth is important.
But I do understand. Like it's almost like our content almost has to be something that has a lot of flaws to it for us for our show to work properly.
I don't think you have to worry about flaws in Beast Wars. Like,
no, but I'm saying like it's a good point.
Like for good.
I like those are
animation.
cartoons that I like right now. Now, if we could have an effective podcast or an engaging podcast with it, I'm sure we would make it work.
You know,
It would just be different.
So back to the reality show thing, I mean, maybe it's too easy. And the market for that is, I'm sure there's a million podcasts and YouTube channels that are analyze and criticize those shows. It would be kind of fun. So many of them are stupid. And also hotties. Why not?
Oh, yes. Yeah,
Want to throw some hotties in the mix.
Sure, hotties.
I went with I went with something Wes and I have actually discussed doing a podcast about, which is the Ryan Murphy show, Nip Tuck.
Oh yeah.
FX.
You could probably snag a good interview for that show as well.
Why?
Caleb's got his connects.
Because the
because
of Byron Smith, the editor.
You're completely right.
He also did Big Love. You guys could talk about a million things.
It feels like this is a show that nobody talks about anymore, and it's so fucking bonkers and bizarre. Bizarre in a way, like it was 2003 to 2010, so like the heyday of cable network like TV shows. It's kind of like a nightmare soap opera centered around two plastic surgeons in Miami. Everyone in the show is varying degrees of fucking awful, and it's terrible and great.
Yeah.
And I love it. And I can't imagine anybody would listen to it. But
were you and Wes both independently fans of Nip Tuck, or did you turn her on to it? I know you
other
used to
way
watch
around.
it. Oh, she turned you on to
Yes.
it. Oh, I thought I remembered you watching it. All right.
Andy and I
yeah,
watched
we did
that
a
back in the
rewatch.
day.
I've never seen it. But
We watched it while we were
I
in St. Louis.
highly
It's a
recommend
good
it.
show. Good show.
Go
On a-
watch it, sweetheart.
On a similar note, Moonlighting is on Hulu now, and I forced Melody to watch the pilot episode with me, and it's really bad.
Yeah, well, of course it is. It's a pilot episode.
I know.
You should choose like a season 2.
But aside from that, even like Bruce Willis's character, David Addison, he's not good.
No way.
I mean, that's the point. Yeah, it's so fucking stupid that she is now turned off from the whole series, and I want to keep watching it. And I was like, I'm going to get you into watching a thing that I like.
Yeah.
She's out.
You should have done your homework first.
Well, maybe, yeah. I just assumed the pilot. I mean, it had to be charming enough to get picked up, so I assumed it would have some redeemable. The redeemable quality in it is that it's so bad that it's easy to make fun of.
They feel like they leaned into that.
But they did, and when they did it, that's when it, at least as far as memory serves, that was a good thing about it, was them making fun of tropes and stereotypes about television shows.
Yeah.
But that was not the intent
That was not.
at this stage of the game, and it's just stupid. I'm sad.
That's something to be said about, again, like that show and like Cheers and those other shows. Where,
Cheers, I maintain, holds up, even though Sam Malone is kind of a disgusting character.
well,
but he's never.
It does, but my point is, like,
Sorry.
it was great back in the day where shows had an opportunity
To grow.
and get their legs before getting
I
canceled.
completely agree.
We started. Me and Andy started watching Cheers, and we didn't get very far, but everything that we were watching, we really enjoyed watching Cheers.
I maintain that watching that show, and I've rewatched the entire series numerous times. It fucking it holds up, like it with some. I mean, aside from like there was a lot of weird political jokes in it, but I think you could air it today, and it would. I think people would like it.
The dialogue's great.
I saw a preview or a commercial for the Frasier reboot. I'm open to watching it.
I'm open to it as well, but I'm also like one of my eyes is closed.
I've made all right. So my 2 cents on it, really quick, is the new Frasier is, it's too, like, something's up when a lot of the people like
aren't there,
and it's almost like
one's dead.
it's too
I don't
much,
know what's
almost
up with
too much of a
Niles.
wink and a nod. I would probably be more willing to give the new Night Court a chance before I give the new Frasier a chance. But I've not seen either one, so I need to figure that out. And then make
I've
a
watched
judgment.
an episode of the new Night Court. It wasn't good.
I would rather see New Frasier than New Night Court.
Okay.
Night Court does not seem like a good reboot or or sequel or whatever.
Which all the more, but also put Night Court out there on streaming. for Christ's
Absolutely. What the fuck? I cannot get it.
sake. Yeah, they just don't do it. It's like, why not? Of all things,
I know, it's so weird. Like there must be some tie up with like some rights somewhere that
it all goes.
It's weird how some shows are more complicated than others.
It
when
all goes
comes
back to
that.
Brent Spiner.
I mean, Night Court was a
He's
pretty
like-
big hit.
Night Court was a huge hit.
Yeah.
And
Down,
so was
down, down, down.
Moonlighting, and it is weird that it is just now streaming.
What was the question that we were asked?
What's another show cartoon you watch currently? The
Oh.
basic podcast. No,
I think you know what? I'm going to amend my answer. I think a Moonlighting podcast would be fun.
actually that does. That does sound
I think
pretty
a
fun.
Night Court would be good. You know.
Ryan, it's for me. Several times you've said that if something exists, someone has drawn porn of it. What is something that exists that doesn't have porn drawn of it?
And then draw it right now.
Okay,
To make it
So let me see if I can come up with something. I bet nobody has drawn porn of Caleb and I having sex. So there's your mandate. End of answer.
It'd have to be very specific because there's.
I feel like you're the top.
You think?
Yeah.
But he's a pleaser.
But if that's what you want,
Actually,
you have to tell me what
I don't know
you
if this
want
is
out of this.
provocation, but like Wes and I have gotten into like my anal play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's kind of cool.
All right.
I'm not surprised.
No, you shouldn't be.
Been pegged.
We're doing that next. She just used a dildo last time, so we're doing,
Yeah.
she has
That's
a
not
strap,
pegging?
She has a strap
Oh,
on.
I see.
Pegging's
I
when she
guess.
has a
It's
strap
not a
on.
peg if it's not strap. In college-y times, you drew a picture of my good friend Cuban B from Wyoming, that and I think I was the bottom in that drawing.
Oh.
And you drew an explicit cartoony
No, it was
picture
no. It was
of him butt fucking me. What?
It was not a drawing so much. It was an image like you took. It was like a Photoshop.
No, this was a drawing. It was like a
Okay.
comic book style because I was getting fucked and he had me like
was
giving
like a
a
Jim
thumbs up or
Davis
something.
style.
Like that.
I've also seen one. I don't remember what it was, but there was a Photoshop of me, and you had like it was something graphic.
I vaguely recall what you're talking about, but I don't.
You don't remember my thing at all.
I don't remember drawing that at all.
Yeah.
At all.
Sorry,
I'll
you're right.
reprise it for the next time he's on the show.
Yeah.
Is this at the next level? Like,
Finally, Mike Seibert has some questions.
oh God, so many questions.
Not really.
Yeah,
Hi, I'm Mike Seibert.
they are
I don't think-
related.
I have
Like
50
his
questions.
questions are related.
These are
into
not
the
that-
same.
they're
question.
longer
Good
questions on this list.
It's
Correct.
It's good. All good.
Number one, I think we've kind of answered some of Mike's first question already, which is what are some of your favorite and least favorite episodes? And are there any episodes that surprised you either positively or negatively? So I will say, I feel like nearly every episode was a surprise, just by nature of the conceit. Like
And it's been so long since we've seen it.
It's been over 30 years, and I'm reviewing these kids' cartoons in a way the original creators never intended. Like, they were not meant to be broken down like that. But I think we take that into consideration. And I think for me, there are a lot of times where I'm like, why would you do it like that?
Mm-hmm.
Again, Hoist Goes to Hollywood, which I hated. Episode 162, go back. It centers on a movie negative.
I remember people in a
Decepticons.
rowboat.
Yeah,
people
there's
in
a rowboat. Yep. Also,
Never put a rowboat in your show. That's always
Never put a rowboat. I've said it so many times, but bad animation is the tide that sinks all ships for me. So, like, good animation for me elevates an average script, and poor animation kind of fucks me up.
Yeah, that's a hard one for you. I like the episode. I hadn't what was really nice about going through those is reviewing things that I hadn't seen in 30 plus years, having that recall, like that emotional recall on stuff. The episode involving Old Snake was something I'd forgotten about. I'd put away.
You brought it up a couple times. Like, you knew it was there.
I did, but
But you didn't remember
But
it.
until I watched it, I was like, oh my god, I remember loving this episode so
Were you
much.
surprised by it?
I was surprised by my my reaction to it. You know what? I shouldn't say that. I responded to it in a similar way that I did when I was a kid, but I was surprised by my ability of recall on a lot of this stuff, where I was like, oh, I'd completely forgotten about that. And seeing it again, I was able to connect with myself from 35 years ago. And that was...
Your box pooping self.
Yes, my box pooping self. Thanks a lot.
Sorry.
That's okay. No, I was surprised at how much nostalgia I could tap into.
Sure.
In a way that was sincere.
Yeah.
And that was fun. Cathartic almost.
What about you, Aaron? What surprised you, either positively or negatively?
The only thing that sticks out to me is I really thought that the Killing Jar, again, the Cyclonus Magnus, like my recollection of that as I got older and hadn't seen it in years was that it was some kind of masterpiece.
Why did that stick out in your mind so
I don't know.
hard?
I feel like that was one that was maybe on repeat a lot, or I just happened to catch it a lot. It was just one I had seen several times. And I really liked it. And as I got older, I had put it on this pedestal of what a complex episode. And I like just even as I sit here, I like the concept of you kidnap these individuals from different cultures and opposing forces, and you put them in a situation where they've got to figure out how to work together, and what is it about their background that how do they get along, first of all, and then what is it about their each unique perspectives that help them get out of the situation. But the episode isn't anything like that.
Well, it's quite it's quite literally a bottle episode where it's like this does not connect really to anything, but like we just put all these people together. There's a lot of Star Trek episodes like that.
It wasn't good. It's not good. That's the only one I can think of that I had elevated so much, and then when I watched it, I was like, nope, it's just another half shitty Transformers episode. I still like it.
I like it,
and I still think it's a good idea.
I think a lot of the reason I like it is because Marissa Fairborn's there.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
I love that character.
Yeah.
Okay, number 2. How does Apdc define what is and is not G1? Is it just the American series and the movie? What about the Japanese exclusive series? Where's the cutoff? As a time capsule question to answer now and then revisit after you finish Beast Wars, is Beast Wars also G1?
I obviously already I misdefined G1 earlier.
But is there a true definition?
Well,
that's kind of at the heart of the question.
Like when I was talking about toys with Aaron, when I thought G1, I was thinking like the toys that were issued during that time, not actually toys that are
of
that time.
Of those characters.
So, for me, in my limited knowledge, G1 ends in the 80s, and that Beast Wars isn't considered G1, but I hear that there's debate about that. So I want to know what makes Beast Wars considered to be G1.
I can answer that question.
And that's what I'm hoping you'll do.
All right. Let's just say I assume that everyone who's listening to this has seen Beast Wars. Beast Wars is a direct sequel to the G1 Transformers.
Or is it a prequel?
It is not. I mean, I guess it's kind of, yes, you're right. And that's all I'm going to say, is it's directly linked.
What would be
implicitly?
What is something that's indirectly linked, though? And I'm just trying to understand.
Well, any Transformers are indirectly linked.
I'm just a simple country lawyer.
I like butter in my ass and lollipops in my mouth. Well, indirectly linked would be any Transformers iteration is indirectly linked. But Beast Wars is, you cannot extract it.
There
from
may
G1.
be characters and scenarios from G1 that
correct
will make appearances in Beast Wars. And by G1 we mean the G1 cartoon specifically.
Is it a universe thing or no?
It's basically like so it's like the Frasier of Cheers.
Gotcha. That actually is very helpful. Okay.
It's a spin-off.
Yeah, it's a spin-off.
But without any singular character to
Right.
spin it off from.
Right, without any surprisingly crazy right-wing
It,
actor.
it would be as if not even one of the barflies. It'd be if somebody in Boston heard about the bar Cheers, had never been there, they made a show about it, and then sometimes people
Honestly-
from Cheers showed up there.
Honestly, for that, it's more the wings of Cheers.
Oh no, I don't know how Wings is related to Cheers.
Norm and Cliff show up.
There's it's the same universe.
All right, it's the Wings.
Where am I?
I have
Okay.
some thoughts on this. I've collected.
By
Go
the
ahead.
way, Adventure Time, the most recent Fiona and Cake series on Max, which is really, really good. It is connected to Cheers.
Wow.
They show episodes of Cheers in
Maybe
Fiona
Wes
and
and
Cake.
I need to start watching Adventure Time.
You
for
can't.
that. You
and
finally sold
you
you.
can't watch Fiona and Cake without having a really good understanding of the Adventure Time series first. So just putting that out there.
What season and episode is that?
What's
Is it a later season of it? How many seasons are there?
Of Adventure Time?
Yeah.
There's like 10 seasons.
Isn't it still going on?
No.
Oh.
There was Adventure Time, and then there was another short limited run of Adventure Time content, and then now Max put out something called Fiona and Cake,
Okay.
and it's really, really good. But
And those are two characters. So that's a spin-off. Of
Fiona
Adventure
and
Time.
Cake are fanfic that were created by a character in Adventure Time, referencing characters
Wow,
in the
okay.
Adventure Time universe.
We can't get into this.
Yeah, don't. It's you just got to watch it.
Somebody out there understands.
They do, hopefully.
I tried to establish some principles around G1 for simplicity. I think G1 is anything connected to, from a story perspective, the original run of creative and toy output. So therefore, by my logic, you have a G1 Marvel and you have a G1 Sunbow, and each of those are their own universes, but they're both G1. However, by this standard, the G2 comic
Oh,
is
God.
G1
I know.
because it's a continuation of the Marvel series. But then IDW created Regeneration, which I think we referred to earlier, which pretends the G2 series doesn't exist and picks up from issue 80 as well. So both of those are G1. But everything else is kind of its own thing, which is to say that IDW and even the War for Cybertron cartoons that came out, they're their own universes, and even though they use G1 inspired characters and the designs might be very similar, they're reimagined into their own situation. And really, IDW is an homage to everything because they bring in characters from all the different Transformers universe to establish their universe. I'll just use that word twice. And they created new characters like Tarn and Rung that were fan favorites.
Rung was also the one that I thought of instead of Tarn as somebody that could be in G1.
I wonder if they've used Rung in any of the modern cartoons in the way they brought Tarn in. Anyway, by that logic, G2 is G1, and also it's intended to be part of that universe. Something like Greg and Yoshi's Transformers Reanimated is G1. By that same logic, I think Beast Wars is G1 based on what you've said. And we'll see how it plays out. We'll see if there's enough storyline inadequacies that make me change my mind about that. But for now, Beast Wars is G1.
I
my head.
I don't think so. In season 2, we'll see. I don't think it happens in season 1. I don't think the connection is made, but
it's such the concept is so wacky, honestly.
it's very
to even-
insane.
Like they're all their own thing. Beast Wars is its own thing.
It is.
I guess that there's this macro category called G1, and does it fit? And by my standards, if it flows into those storylines, then it is G1.
Yeah. Now the series is totally over and done. What is the final word on Galvatron? Is he just Megatron straight across with a new paint job, or is there a distinctive personality?
No.
No what?
That wasn't a yes/no question. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I don't think straight across. No. Does he retain?
It's
does he-
both.
Yeah. Does he retain knowledge of being a Megatron? I will say yes, but he's restored.
I will put it this way.
Galvatron is Megatron restored and contains memories of being Megatron.
Yeah, obviously he does, especially the interaction between him and Prime in the Rage Plague episodes. Yeah. Now, I will say this. I think that Galvatron in the movie is skinned Megatron. After the movie, when he becomes insane, I think he's like Megatron with a lobotomy.
Yeah.
I definitely...
if you had a lobotomy, though, you couldn't talk, right?
You can. They still, a lot of me still, because basically
could you work? Could you command a team?
With a lobotomy, it's essentially, it's been said that they remove the soul. Like, to be a little frou-frou about it, like, it basically makes you are still upset, but, this drink glass that talks to me, it's still talking to me, but it doesn't bother me anymore. I'm not upset that the glass is talking to me. That is the difference. That is what a lobotomy does. It makes you not give a shit.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's Galvatron, where he's just like, it's been completely removed. Like, any responsibility has been completely removed from him. Also, lobotomies tend to cause people to compulsively masturbate for a lot.
And we have seen evidence of that.
Oh, yeah.
In Galvatron.
Oh.
Sorry.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out the connection there to what we're...
I'm saying that Galvatron is Megatron, but with his logic removed.
He has some logic sometimes. He has some tactical... I think I agree with both of you in that. My wondering was I think the crux of my original question around it is Galvatron. Does Galvatron remember being Megatron?
Mm-hmm.
Are they essentially two different people because of that cutoff from that memory and because of the various changes? And from having watched this, I think I agree with both of you that I think there's plenty of evidence that he remembers being Megatron or has some of Megatron's memories. I think I agree with you, Ryan, that he may not have all of them because of the trauma from whatever, the lava pit or whatever, the plasma that he was in. But he's still the same guy, and he's just different as we all are different.
So he has to give Megatron grace.
Well played. Well played. Probably the best observation of the whole episode.
Bonus! Since a few of us listening are podcasters ourselves and we have our own process, could you talk about the production of an episode of APDC? From planning to production, how much time do you each put into the production of the show? I think folks might be surprised at how laborious the process actually is. What guides your editing choices and decisions? What goes and what stays? What determines what goes into a bonus episode? This is what I am fucking talking about. Thank you, Mike, for letting me flex my wings about the production of this
just
show.
Some wing
flex
flexing.
My wings? That's not a
some
thing.
Wing flexing.
He is a jet.
All right, who wants to start?
I think it'd be funny if you ended.
Oh boy. Okay.
I know. I'll go first. I'll go first. Preparation for recording for me personally is I watched the episode at the same time that I draft my script for the episode, and while I go through that process, I have a few tabs open on my computer. One is a virtual not a virtual, whatever. It's a thesaurus. I have a thesaurus up. I have a rhyme dictionary up, and I have...
This is amazing. I didn't know this.
And I have I know there's at least one other resource that I kind of just have at the ready. Oh, TF Wiki. Yes, of course. TF Wiki is up, but I do make it a disciplinary point to try to not look at TF Wiki until I'm done.
I do too.
And then when I'm done, I'll go back and see if TF Wiki had any snarky points that I missed.
Yep.
Or they always have a lot of snarky points that I missed, but some of them I feel like aren't worth covering.
Right.
Agreed.
And then also TF Wiki will be the resource to go back and talk. Like it'll be the starting point for figuring out details about the actors or
toys,
characters, toys, all that stuff. And then that might delve into IMDb or other various locations. And it takes me for one episode probably at least a couple hours, if not 3 to 3.5, depending, to watch it, take all the notes, because when I'm watching it, I'll miss stuff. I'm trying to synthesize a scene, but I want to make sure I've got key details and not miss anything good, but I also don't want to put too much in there. As a part of that, the episode keeps running, and I'm constantly having to reverse, go back, rewatch things that I've already played. I know, but let's just, like, if I have a thought going and I want to capture it, it keeps going.
Sure.
So anyway, and then so I try to do, well, actually, this is too in the weeds, but you asked. I've got an outline of all the sections of our show, and the last things I do are I try to do the show first, because then it feels like I've got most of the work done.
Mm-hmm.
And then if we have a guest, I'll do research on the guest and try and come up with something fun or funny, like introductory wise, or something to help guide the conversation.
Why are you an asshole? Tell me.
And something quippy about the previous episode and the next episode. And then, or the drink that Ryan's coming up with, or maybe if we have a new patron or like somebody that rated the show on Apple Podcasts, I will include that. And then the very last thing I do, which is why so often I don't have an intro, is the last thing I do is the intro, because it's whenever I want to do one, it ends up taking actually the most time, and it's probably the least important thing. And so
the most time.
Really? Look back and think about some of the intros I've written.
You put a lot of work
and
into
like
it.
how
I'll
like
see that.
It's research, and then like trying to come up with funny things or onomatopoeia or whatever.
No, it's true.
It's the most time for the least impact, and I recognize that. So, and I also recognize they don't really matter at all, and so sometimes I just don't do them. So it's because it's Saturday and we're recording the next day, and I want to go to sleep.
What about your editing choices and decisions?
Before that, you edit it first.
Well,
then we record.
I'll get to that. I just want to do Aaron's thing first.
Okay. So
you editing for the script or a script?
No, like
audio.
The podcast.
So then Ryan edits
Ryan edits it.
Yeah.
So Ryan does. Okay, well, we'll get back to Ryan.
Yeah,
Ryan
we'll
doesn't
get back
edit.
to me. I just want to do all.
Ryan doesn't
once.
edit. And then I try when I have time, which is most of the time, I find time to listen to it. And if I say something cringy, something that I don't want any backlash on, or too many just awkward pauses, or other random words that are filler words for me, that Ryan does make an honest attempt to edit out. But if it annoys me, then I take it out.
It really is. Your edit is just. I think
we've called it. I call it a vanity.
We call it a vanity.
It really is like you never edit us. It's only your stuff, where it's like I don't like the way I sound here.
Yep. Which early.
Well, I know that. Well, Caleb never says anything that controversial. Ryan has provided the edit, so anything that he says, he's fine with. Right. And then sometimes I will say things. I don't know if they're controversial or not, but they're not.
Controversial. We're not like
they're half thoughts. They're half thought out, and maybe it's on a deeper, darker subject or something that's happening in real life that I feel like my opinions as broadcast aren't enough. Like they aren't good enough to represent me or what I really think, because it's hard for me to extemporaneously deliver my opinions on some things.
Absolutely.
And if I feel like whatever is out there or what you have edited, I feel like you misconstrued or whatever, I'll cut that out.
Whereas usually I'm like, whatever's clever.
Yeah. Right. I would call
myself.
I would call it a cringe edit. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's usually Like I take out a lot of ums. I take out the pauses. Obviously, why would you leave pauses in?
Right.
But, I'll go through mine. Okay, so it really is not to maximize anything, but it really is a large effort to do this podcast. Like we record about once every 3 weeks. Doing it 2 episodes at once, usually a Sunday morning, starting at 9, ending around 2 or 3. For my part, just for the episode proper, I spend about 2 hours per show watching, taking notes, doing research. Then I go to TF Wiki, like Aaron said, see if they have anything I missed or I can punch up. Then for script deviations, which script deviations in the real world take about the same amount of time as the episode review. Depending on the content, maybe an hour, 2 hours. And finally, for the cocktail segment, including prep, deciding what to have, and writing copy is about another hour average. So if we include the additional material of the website, screen grabs, photos, posting to social media, Patreon, etc., that's another hour or so.
I didn't even include the non-episode stuff.
Oh, I did. Specific editing questions are next, but for an average 3-hour session, it takes me about 6 hours to edit, just to strictly edit. So, for prep plus recording and editing of a normal episode is about 12 to 14 hours for me.
That's a lot.
Fuck.
What guides your editing choices and decisions? What goes into what stays? I look for the non sequitur bits first. The bit that goes at the beginning that probably has nothing to do with the episode, is just something silly and stupid that's supposed to make you laugh. Back in the days when we had the Yeti microphone, I actually got a lot more good stuff because you could hear it all. And now with these microphones that are really good, if you're away from the microphone, I can't hear you at all.
Right.
So, like, there's not as much good stuff. And I know you'll find this shocking, but aside from our breaks and serious asides, pretty much everything makes it in. Edited for time with pauses and the likes taken out. I mean, when you're spitting pure gold, nothing goes to waste.
Right. That's right.
It's all the time.
We are also kind of streamlined at this point, so there's not a ton of fat to cut, except for whenever we take breaks. And like I said here, I try to take out all the verbal tics Aaron hates. What determines what goes into a bonus episode? The bonus episode's exclusive to Patreon. APODcast at patreon.com. Many levels of support. Go check it out. Always come from the episodes where we have a guest host, although in these two, I might have enough to do bonus episodes for.
Yeah.
Simply by virtue of the fact there's upfront banter, side conversations, especially when we take breaks, and usually stuff on the back end. Just by nature of the beast, those episodes generally take longer to record. And then I just kind of try to pick stuff that's funny and maybe related to Transformers. I know Aaron doesn't like the bonus episodes.
The reason for that, just to tag back onto my thing, is that either I think they're just boring filler, like it's just boring content. It was edited for a reason, or like I'm just worried about like what I'm gonna say. But then also there have been times, one or two, where guest hosts have revealed like some personal
details,
information that I'm not I don't know that I feel comfortable without talking to them about it.
Yeah.
Hey, do you mind if we talk about your drug addiction or divorce?
How do you
or
feel
whatever?
about the fact you murdered your first wife? No, completely understand.
I like the
about
bonus
that.
episodes, but I know by calling it a bonus episode, it's already contextualized. It's going to be kind of a
True, that's fair.
It's like listening to
also,
bonus
and I said
tracks
this
for a album.
Right, it's
Yeah.
non-essential,
But
for
it's
sure.
But
if you're a diehard, maybe you
it adds to
enjoy
your
it.
perspective
Yeah.
of things. It's there if you want it, and it's
Yeah.
or
And I said
that's
this
a great way to put
Aaron
it, Caleb.
too, is like also every time I publish a bonus episode, I get feedback where people are like, I really like this. I really like this material.
right, totally.
No, it's all self-conscious, either for myself or me projecting onto others what
Joy.
they may or may not want to, or our guest rather, like what they may or may not want
Sure.
put out there, and so that's pretty much it.
Caleb,
Yes,
talk to us about your process.
I will, and I do have one. It is not nearly as time consuming as these guys. They put a lot of work into it. I do not, but what I do is we before an episode, I watch the episodes. Sometimes I take notes.
Oh, I thought you were going to say sometimes I watch the episode.
I always watch the episodes.
Well,
Sometimes on the
There's
drive
that
over.
I've made mistakes in the past, but 99% of the time, yes, I watch the episodes. I pay attention to them, and I make mental notes or literal notes about what making comments about them. We do that, and then Ryan does an edit, and he posts it up on our shared drive, and then it's interesting. Ever since we first started this, what I do is I re-listen to every single episode, and I do the summary.
Mm-hmm.
And it's typically a free association summary where I am kind of recapping the episode, but what I'm really doing is finding zany lines from what we're talking about, wacky things that we say that I find funny and humorous, and then I put them into this really long run-on paragraph with lots of exclamation points of funny, quirky things, so that if somebody was to read the summary, it won't really reveal anything that's going to go on, but it's like just crazy shit that's said that makes it intriguing, that makes you want to maybe listen and see where those fit into the episode.
I really like the fact that you, and from the start, have done the exclamation points in the summary. That's very fun.
And it's so I as I'm listening to it, I'm like, that was a funny phrase.
Everything's exciting.
I really hype it up. I hype the episode by putting these lines in that do relate to the episode. So put that up on our I email it to the guys. They throw it into the to the episode when it's released, and that's all that I do.
I guess I forgot the visual, the header part, which I do.
Yeah.
Basically, that process is Ryan tells us the edit is up, and while I'm listening /vanity /cringe editing, that's generally the time I'm also working on the header, which is I just try to find either iconic or good or just, I don't know.
Or just something that crystallizes the episode.
I try to find exactly. Those kind of moments and things that have reasonable composition, and then I'll put it up. I use Affinity Photo and Photoshop. By how simple they look and are, it's hard to believe. There's 2 programs involved. It's probably overcomplicated. But Photoshop, as far as I've found, for the effect I want, why am I blanking out on what you would call it?
Dot matrix?
It's a bitmap effect, but they execute it better than anybody. Halftone is the word
That's
I'm looking for.
Halftone.
So I take those, find the scenes I like the best, I find some, and then I'm basically scrolling through the episode on YouTube in full screen, so my screenshot is as good a quality as it can be. Snap it, process it. I'll have to figure out a new thing, because I have tried to consciously do things a little differently. Like the movie was basically taking screenshots of one image, applying an effect. It was in like its full color. Honestly, looking back at those, they're pretty gross. For the show, it was more of a straight up, I don't know, almost punk rock poster style, where like limited color, trying to pick colors that were more associated with the seasons. So you'll see the early seasons are more like orange, red, blue, but I put more like purples and magentas in the current one. And I don't know what we'll do for Beast Wars. And then for off episodes that we publish, generally there's no it's kind of like whatever. There's no real process for that. I try to not follow the episode process, so it feels like it's not part of the main thing, but try to make it feel related to some degree or another. But there's not really a process for that.
Yeah.
All right.
Cool.
Did we cover everything?
That's closing out our questions.
Ryan Ryan and Caleb do most of the social media.
Oh yeah. Then when
I get on there a little bit.
When it drops on the website, Ryan posts it on X, formerly known as Twitter. I put it on Facebook and Threads, and then everything else everything else populates where it needs to be on iTunes and all that stuff.
And here's one thing I got to say: we got to figure this out. Maybe maybe this should be on me. Squarespace is our host for the podcast, so all episodes are uploaded to Squarespace.
I save them all to my drive.
Okay, good.
If that's what you're getting at.
Well, what I'm getting at is at a certain point, which I believe is 300, Squarespace doesn't let you put more than 300 episodes on. And so I don't know what that means or what we're going to do. Maybe Mike or somebody else has a thought around that. Squarespace won't allow us to do more than 300 of the things we've been doing. And I've also heard that even iTunes has some, or Apple Podcast has some restrictions.
How is that possible?
Like Marin's had over 1,000 episodes.
Well, if you were to scroll back with Marin in iTunes,
throw it behind a
how
paywall?
could you go all the way to
Like
episode
episode
1, I don't know. Technologically, I think there's a something we're gonna have to figure out before too long.
Or we
about
get
how
lucky,
and they expand
by the time they get there,
their capabilities.
Yeah.
Because Squarespace used to be 200. Even in the lifetime that we've been recording, I was worried about episode 200. But then at a certain point, they expanded to 300, and I was like, "Oh, okay, I can put that aside for a while." But we're getting to that point where it could be an issue.
in another.
I thought
3
you
or
were
4
going
years.
with like the fact that digital content that we've put out, like if we don't have an archive of it, like Squarespace could disappear tomorrow,
I see
and
what
we
you're
wouldn't
saying.
have that information.
Right? No,
At all.
backed up.
It's backed up.
I'd be happy if it all disappeared.
No,
Well,
I'm just
no, I
joking.
like the
I'm
idea.
just
I like the idea of it being there for posterity in one way or another.
And one other thing, one other technical thing I can't figure out that drives me insane is our old logo, like an old logo,
I know.
is
We
used
talked
on
about
Apple
this.
Podcasts.
You can't get the update.
And I cannot get it to fucking update. And Spotify, everything else updates. I'm following the Apple guidelines. I've done it. I've recreated the file a million times. I've looked up. I've checked every box. The fucking logo won't update, and I don't know why.
And people
I've looked up
are
a million.
incensed about it.
Yeah.
I know. I've looked up a million message boards. I've looked up so much shit to try and figure it out. Whatever.
Thank you so much, everybody, for submitting your questions. I hope this was enjoyable for you. Closing it out, as I've said before, really is a labor of love for all of us. We wouldn't do it if we didn't love it. It started as a weird project and kind of a way just to have friend dates. Like we recorded the first 8 episodes before even publishing. And speaking of which, like this is how we met you, Mike, who did our last question segment. I think we met around episode 50 whenever he came on the podcast. And honestly, like I don't think our show would be what it was without you. So I just wanted to give a shout out to Mike Seibert for that.
I'm Mike Seibert, and I like to help you guys.
In the real world.
Hey, boys. We're doing something a little different in this episode. Since it's about us, I chose real-world segments from the years we were born, 1977 and 1978.
Yeah. Cool.
Am I the only 78?
I'm
No,
78
they're both-
February.
Oh, you're February. That's right.
Yeah.
It's the late 70s. The video game Space Invaders launched a craze around the globe. I wrote glove
That too.
for computer video games. The U.S. Treasury came out with the Susan B. Anthony dollar.
Oh yes.
Jimmy Carter is in the White House. A bunch of planes crashed. The controversial Camp David Accords were signed by Egypt and Israel, which I'm sure has
That's
no
helped out.
lasting effects that we're talking about now.
Well, I feel like it was a good thing, right?
The
Camp David
Palestinians
Accords?
were not involved.
Oh,
So-
well, yeah. Well, it was about Egypt. That's
Yeah.
why. Okay.
The film director Roman Polanski skips bail and flees to France after pleading guilty to raping a 13-year-old girl. Jim Jones murders over 900 people in his horrible jungle village in Guyana, South America. But also the first Garfield comic was published.
June 19th, 1978. I know that for some
How
stupid
the fuck
reason.
do you know that?
I loved Garfield.
Yeah.
Did you not, Ryan? You were the true Garf.
I had the collections.
I got the books through Scholastic, all the book fairs.
In the Billboard Hot 100. So, what was the soundtrack to arguably the worst decade in modern American history? Disco is king, and it will last forever. The Bee Gees, in particular, had a banner year, clocking in 4 of the 21 total number 1 hits.
Mm-hmm. They're on top.
Number 1 for 4 weeks in February of 1978 was the Bee Gees' sensation, Staying Alive.
78 or 77?
78.
No, man, I was born to stay alive.
That's what his mother pushed him out to.
Yeah.
She was like, I hope he does.
That's the song that they've trained to do CPR to.
So she was.
I may have that note later.
Oh, okay.
So she was bumping you out to the rhythm of a heartbeat.
That's right.
It's like, oh, maybe this one will live.
Oh,
No,
wow.
I was actually like 6 or 7 weeks premature. So,
Really?
Yeah, I was a preemie.
It all adds up.
So she's like,
All
I
right.
gotta have this baby now to this music.
That's why your head.
Oh, yeah. Thanks.
I don't know,
Thanks.
he's a pinhead.
That's why I look like I do. Mm-hmm.
The huge amount of success the Bee Gees had did hinge on a lot of the fact that they did the theme songs for Saturday Night Fever soundtrack. They wrote Staying Alive over the course of a few days, and I'm assuming a lot of cocaine, while sprawled on the staircase of the Chateau de studio near Paris. A lot of bands, including the Bee Gees, recorded most of their soundtracks in France for tax purposes. Nah, Uncle Sam, you can't get me.
Or Uncle Union Jack. I don't.
They're Australian.
They're Australian.
Right.
Well, but
Isn't the Union Jack the part of the Australian flag?
it's in there. But
It's like tucked in the corner.
because
I
it
was just
a
trying to
British-
think. What would the They're not worried about Uncle Sam. Is my point.
It's also a song that has been used in medical training, Caleb, because at about 103 beats per minute, it's a perfect rhythm to use to chest compressions and CPR. A study on medical professionals found that the quality of CPR is better when thinking about the song. By the way, you can also use Another One Bites the Dust by Queen, but only if you're a super edgy paramedic. Number 1 at the box office. Hey.
Hey.
I picked a number 1 movie from 1977, my year of birth, one that is a perennial discussion on our podcast. Can you guess what it is?
Nightmare on Elm.
No. That's way too early.
13th.
I want to say it's 77.
77.
Sleepaway Camp.
No.
We talk about it a lot. It's a movie we all love.
Is it anything we've
It's a
said?
franchise we all love.
Is it
Star Trek?
Star
Nope.
Wars?
No, Star
Nope.
Trek The Motion Picture.
Star Wars was the same year, but no. It's Rocky.
Oh.
Fucking Jesus Christ. Number 1 for a dizzying 13 weeks. Rocky. I'm not even
The
going...
star of the movie, Rocky.
Yeah.
He fights Apollo on the moon.
I love it.
I'm not even going to try to explain the plot of Rocky. If you don't know, I can help you.
Great movie.
I will say this: if you don't like sports movies, or if you don't think or if you think this is a sports movie, Rocky at its core is a very obvious romance and the story of a man basically struggling with a
Character study.
fractured dream. Yeah,
It's like Taxi
scraping-
Driver. But
It's not like Taxi Driver. He was a murderer.
yeah, but I mean, it's like it's a character study, is what I'm saying.
It's not a sports movie.
I was in the middle of a sentence.
Yeah, I know. I didn't care. Clearly. Please continue.
Rocky is quite literally and figuratively a fighter. It's basically the only thing he can do. It's very raw and poignant, and there is a lot of Sylvester Stallone's own struggles in the script because he wrote it when he was having very poor luck in acting and decided the only way to make it was to create something himself. Stallone refused to allow the film to be made without starring in the role, and United Artists eventually agreed after Stallone rejected a 6-figure payday to buy the rights. All the actors turn in spectacular performances, and I revisit the franchise constantly. I should have broke your thumb. Thank you.
Bonk.
Yeah, Caleb loves
Bonk.
that part. Bonk. See, it still works. Bonk.
Bonk.
I really don't know anyone who doesn't like this movie, and most of the sequels. I mean, I watch a lot of react videos on YouTube, mostly with millennial women, because there's something really fun and special about seeing someone discover something for the first time, kind of like watching a movie you love with a friend. This is a bit of a tangent, but I'm such a fan of this trend because it gives younger creators and audiences an excuse to watch older movies, and some don't land, but almost without fail, you see the host start to find a wonderful appreciation for older movies, especially black and white ones, which normally younger audiences might not give a chance.
I don't always because of that.
Yeah, you should. You should go look at them. I mean, in young women especially, it seems like they're always delighted to find out it's not really about the boxing. It feels very personal, I suppose, what I'm saying is Rocky.
Yeah, I have
sincere.
I
Yeah.
have to take. You got to go into watching the original Rocky without bringing any baggage of the sequels that would follow, in my opinion.
Even the sequels, though, aren't necessarily about the
No, they're
the
not.
action of the
They're
boxing.
But
not.
I still say people put a certain baggage in it, and
Yeah.
you kind of just go into Rocky watching it and just put all the sequels aside and just watch it and then go from there.
Rocky was made for about $1 million and grossed $225 million.
That's crazy.
I can't even imagine it is made in residuals and other sales.
Yeah.
Like, it's so good. I know everyone hates number 5, and yes, it's not as good.
But Ryan,
But it is important, especially since it leads to number 6, which is so fucking good. Like, Rocky Balboa is so good.
that simulation's got people
It
talking.
does. It's right. It takes place 16 years later. And the Creed series, I like the Creed series a lot, too.
The third one's not as good.
It's not.
It's
It
a
is-
downhill
It is
move,
kind of like
but-
middling. But I actually feel like that is an argument to how good the rest of the movies are.
I do like when Stallone won the Golden Globe for Creed. He got a standing ovation, and it's really an interesting like metaphor for like he didn't give up on the franchise in a way where he did turn it around and come back, and basically had a comeback.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just really interesting how that reflects in the content of the subject matter of the movies.
Well, from a
itself.
producer standpoint, I think isn't he a producer of the Expendables movies?
Oh yeah,
Like I feel like he's a smart Hollywood executive in addition to the
he
writing,
understands the
directing,
industry in a very
acting.
interesting way. Yeah, for sure.
And I think that, to your point, Ryan, that whole self-made thing is part of it. And then when he made Rocky, they were like, "This kid's gold." And
Yeah.
threw him
That's
whatever
why
he wanted.
whenever you watch 1, 2, 3, you see like in 1 he's not that big. Like he's not like muscular wise, especially compared to Carl Weathers. Like Carl Weathers is enormous.
And even though 3 is not as good or as artistic,
It
it tells the story in a completely logical way. The fact that the character has maybe got a little too big for his britches and has gone a little soft. Quality of the movies notwithstanding, I feel like the overarching storyline all makes sense.
I completely agree. And like also if you watch them, like you will notice the same characters or the same actors play the same characters throughout the whole thing. Like they have the same announcers and shit. That mob boss, who's the nicest mob boss I ever did see, who employs Rocky in the first one. He's in like the first 3, and then like like you said, Aaron, it is a logical progression, and I would argue, I don't know, they just flow so well together.
That's what happened when we were born, man.
What else happened? Anything
Bringing it
else?
full circle, do you know who directed the 1983 movie Staying Alive?
Yes.
Was it? It wasn't Sylvester Stallone.
It was Sylvester.
It was Sylvester
Yeah, it
Stallone.
was.
Okay.
He has a cameo.
He wrote it also, right?
No.
Oh,
He has a cameo as a fancy boy in a fur coat who John Travolta bumps into in the opening sequence. And now you say, did he write it? And I'm like, maybe I'm wrong, because Sylvester Stallone always wants to have a writing credit on every movie
he'll
he does.
take writing credit for stuff that he didn't write as well.
It's
part of
true.
yeah.
He did write Rocky, though. Legitimately, he wrote Rocky.
He's very aggressive with his moves.
directed by Sylvester Stallone.
Why didn't
We
you
already
just write
said
who
that.
wrote Staying Alive?
Yeah, I don't know. Screenplay by Sylvester Stallone and
There you go.
and Norman Wexler.
So Norman Wexler wrote it.
Yeah.
And Stallone punched it up.
Maybe so. But he didn't have the power, that kind of power back
It
then.
was 83.
He did.
Okay.
Yeah,
he certainly
had
did.
the power then. All right. And he was a producer.
That's the real world, bitches. And that is the end of this episode.
Right on.
I've never seen Staying Alive or its sequel.
It's not very.
You don't need
There's
to.
a sequel to Staying Alive.
Staying Alive is a sequel to Saturday Night Fever.
Oh, that's right. You're right. And Stallone didn't have anything to do with Saturday
No,
Night
because
Sat-
Saturday Night Fever was, I believe,
Saturday Night Fever.
77.
By the way, Saturday Night Fever, dark movie.
Yes.
Dark movie.
Yes, it is.
Everybody
There's a
associ-
rape in
yeah,
that
everybody
movie.
associates it with like just the disco stuff. No, it's a dark movie.
Was it John Travolta's character that...
No.
Nope.
Oh.
But he's hanging out with some guys and they do some fucked up stuff.
yeah, I'm sure. There's fucked up stuff in life.
There it is.
Art.
There's shadows in life.
Reflecting life.
I recently rewatched Boogie Nights. All right.
All right, well,
that's the
if
end
you
of the
enjoyed this
episode.
conversation, then, hey, come on back. I think we're taking a break. A little break.
Maybe a break, maybe a holiday break. I don't know.
But we'll be back.
We're going to strategize. We're going to see what our next move is.
Yeah, honestly, we haven't actually planned things out. And
Nope.
hearing Ryan say that he spends how many hours per episode?
About 14.
That changes my thoughts about where things are going in the future, or what I was hoping to suggest. But all that said, if you'd like to help support the show,
Give, my fellow Decepticons! Give till it hurts!
there is the Patreon out there, and there are many levels of support. We will continue to do the booty boxes.
Oh,
and maybe,
yeah.
hey, if nothing else, maybe those will be G1 themed, but we'll have to create
I have
some
that,
I've
Kid and I were
influence
talking
in
about
there.
this the
I've
other
got
day,
that,
and I have some ideas.
Yep, and I just came up with an idea of the previous episode of the Flint Dilly walking by the
yeah.
door scenario.
So some of them are just about us sometimes.
But, you guys all know the inside jokes. That's why you guys are here.
That's right. The booty box, there is the Apdc store, which I still need to put the merchandise remaining from the last booty box up. And also buy us a drink.
Yes.
Yeah. And I, some easy content to fill in while we're figuring stuff out. Maybe you give us some dough.
Oh, my
and,
God,
we give you some Joe.
Oh, my
There's
God.
always dough for Joe. We could
Somebody please talk to Caleb.
throw those in. Talk to
He needs to watch G.I. Joe.
just dough for Joe. And there's one solution.
Additionally, you can help us out with your reviews on the platform of choice that you happen to listen to. We're on all of those things. And if you want to chat with us, as we've established, we're all on social media to some extent. Ryan and Caleb are the general managers of the social media situation, particularly on Twitter, Facebook / what's it called again? Threads.
No, it does.
Clearly, I'm on Threads.
Yeah.
And Instagram, all of the Mad A Podcast. And if you join our Patreon, you have access to the Discord, which is,
That's
I'm on
our
there
main
about
thing.
every other day.
What does it take? I mean, like
Depending on my
$5 a
travel.
month for somebody? $2 a month.
Any level of support on our Patreon, you get access to the Discord.
And there are, you talk about some fucking crazy maniacs, man. Crazy shit going on in there.
Well, now I've committed myself due to our Discord. I've got to watch Bionicle at some point in time. There's like 4 million episodes of this.
You
program.
gotta. You're contractually obligated.
I'm obligated. I do want to watch a few, actually. I've always kind of wondered. I remember seeing it in stores and thinking it was a cool looking product. I did not really know there was fiction attached to it, and I've since learned there is.
I thought it was just a video game.
It's like
It's toys.
Lego-esque toy
Oh,
line.
I'm thinking of something completely different.
Okay. Well,
Good stuff.
get your head out your ass. Thank you, everybody, for listening.
Yeah.
And thank you for your questions. And
That was great.
We really appreciate it. We love you guys, everyone out there. So, yeah, I guess who knows what the next episode will be.
Yeah, it'll be.
Here we go.
Yeah, well, happy holidays to everyone.
Happy holidays, absolutely. Happy Halloween. I know it's over now, but
Oh, this is coming out after. Oh,
this comes out in November.
Well, we'll have to catch up.
All right, bye.
Bye. Yeah, I feel like this was what I wanted it to be, in that
Wow.
we unveiled things about each other we didn't even know.
That's a depressing song to bring up. Okay, so thank you for being on this journey, and we will see you after the short break. And thank you all for listening, and we love you all, and in a safe and consensual way. And I will say, till all are one. Bye.
Bro Cells is the sponsor of Autopod Decepticast. Yes.